Good morning, Raptor Freak. Lexiot's here, and it is Thursday morning, and my voice is a little. um, yeah, we went to the game last night. We had an amazing day. The last couple of days, Tom Duke visiting from Victoria, British Columbia, and just getting the real Raptor Freak experience here in Toronto. Running around with me and doing crazy stuff, and meeting Greg and Monique and the Saborin brothers yesterday, Evelyn. Just such a fantastic time with Tom here in Toronto. I think Tom had a blast, guys. There was a lot of crazy stuff that happened late last night after the game. We went to Raptors Tonight. The Ghubbstown Clink and myself, Tom Duke, and the Saborin brothers were there for a little bit, but then they left. And if you watch Raptors Tonight, as I know a lot of you do, if you watch it very closely, as the young man with the 9 Ibaka jersey comes up and asks the question, you can see in the background me standing in the very behind, like over Randy's shoulder. So if you pay attention to Raptors Tonight, Raptors Freaks, you can go watch the episode from last night. You will see me standing behind them in the red Scotty Barnes number 4 jersey behind them. Well, we hung out for a while afterwards, and we Greg went and talked to Jack Armstrong, the Ghubbstown Clink, catching up with his old buddy, seeing if he wants to come have his breakfast with him still. And then, of course, we had a nice long talk with Randy Urban last night, and he has learned about our channel here. So Randy has said that he would like to come and join us and see what we're doing here on the Raptor Free channel in the morning at 9:30. So Randy, if you come in and check out our channel, welcome. And we hope that you become a participant on the channel from time to time when you have time, and join in the chat with everybody, with Monique and Nako and other great regulars on this channel. But yeah, it was really fun. We have this really cool picture of Tom Duke and I with Alvin Williams we took last night. And I got to talk to Alvin some more last night and just tell him, how much of a big fan I am of him, and that I have his jersey behind me on my wall here at the house. And, I'm focusing on the Tom Duke stuff in some ways. I'd also like to focus on the Canadian contingency of last night. Last night was very disappointing when we're talking about the game. I have so many questions about why we made decisions last night the way we did. So many questions about why we were so ineffective, so flat, came out and started the game in the worst possible way. Let me read you guys what Pirtle wrote last night after the game, the Pirtle report that he puts on YouTube. On Facebook. It kind of sums things up to a degree about what happened last night. Jakob is saying disappointing 114 to 118 loss to the Indiana Pacers. We came out flat on defense. We're able to fight back with a lot of energy, but over the course of the game, they shot the ball much better than we did. JP19, Toronto Raptors. Yeah, and that pretty much sums it up right there. We really did come out there flat. In some ways, we were not connected. In some ways, we had no capable defense, and we could not make anything. It was really insane. They were missing really close shots to the basket. There was a bit of that kind of defense where guys like Miles Turner would hit them and get a lot of contact on them and mess up their shots, and nothing was getting called. Nothing was getting called at all. And then at the other end, these Pacers were scorching. They were shooting so well right from the start. Andrew Nebhard, in particular, in the first quarter last night for the Indiana Pacers, just destroying us right away. This is the thing, guys. Last night was Team Canada Appreciation Night in the arena. And, well, they did some crazy things with Indiana. In some ways, I'm very proud of the game last night. But in some ways, I'm also very not proud. I'm proud for Canada. I'm proud for Team Canada. I'm proud for the future of this country's Olympic basketball, because we saw, a couple of things last night. Very cool. First ever time 3 Canadians have started for an NBA team. Here in Canada, it happened, but it was the opposing team. Andrew Nebhard, Ben Mathurin, Oshae Brissett, the first 3 Canadians to start for an NBA team ever in the starting lineup. Rick Carlisle, you are cool for setting that up and allowing that to happen. It really was a showcase for Nebhard, Brissett, and Mathurin. as far as them showing their skills and how they contribute and help the Indiana Pacers win. I really thought last night would be an easy win in some ways, but you know what? I've done something really stupid this whole season. I've overlooked Indiana and how they are now with Halliburton and Healed and their new makeup when they didn't even have Halliburton last night. But you know what, guys? I have to tell you all this something. We got swept by the Indiana Pacers this season. All 3 games we played them, we lost. And I wondered about that after we lost last night. I was like, holy crap, we got swept by the Pacers this year. This is not good. This is something that we'd never have done, I think, in our entire history of of playing in the league. Even I don't know if we've ever been completely swept by the Indiana Pacers for the whole season. We've always been able to steal one somewhere in there, no matter what edition of the Raptors it is. And I really blame kind of underestimating the new Indiana Pacers and knowing that these guys are for real and they're serious and they're on their way up and they take things very seriously. They have a very good coach. Rick Carlisle is a fantastic coach. The decisions he made to set up the game last night, the way he did, had the best possible outcome for his team to win. And, in some ways, I have no idea what the hell the Raptors are doing. A week or so ago, I had questions about why they had personnel not at 9:05 to play against the Lakeland Magic because we were in a really do or die kind of win situation, but they're very passive about who they sent where. No Christian Coloco, no this, no 2 ways in this way. And, I've been really having questions about things. Like when we came to the game, I had no idea. We knew Scotty might be hurt, not going to play. But when we came to the game and I didn't see Gary and Precious suited up, I was like, what is this? This is so weird. In fact, when they came out for warm-ups, they were standing out there. They looked like half a team. And I was like, why does the Raptors look like a half a team in warm-ups when they're running the layup line? Why are they shooting around and I only feel like half the team is out there? Well, because it was kind of like that. When you're missing those 3 guys, we really see how much they matter. Maybe we could have missed Scotty Barnes last night because, Scotty Barnes was probably going to miss last night. But then hearing that Gary and Precious would not be playing also, man, that really changed our chances to win this game last night. And it sucks. It was just too many guys sitting. I don't know if they thought they could get away with load managing these guys because in some ways I'm wondering about, they said these guys are injured with this and this and this. And I'm like, well, was it a really rough practice in the last couple of days or so? Did they get on the down low injured against the Milwaukee Bucks or some other game recently? I don't know. It's really weird. Once again, I feel like our team was short-staffed. In a very do or die or important situation, a winning stretch right now. All these games matter. But somehow our team was short-staffed last night, and it really, really hurt us. It really, really hurt us. Fred was funny last night. In his after-game interview, they were asking him about the Canada guys and Team Canada and Canadian basketball here. Well, Fred, in some ways, he ain't having none of that because, as much as he's a Toronto Raptor, as much as he's an honorary Canadian in our hearts, in some ways, he don't give a jack shit about Canada basketball. He just wanted to win last night. And he said, yeah, the uprising of Canada basketball, the greatness of Canadians getting better in the game, fuck that shit. He's like, I don't care about that. I just wanted to win. And yeah, it was great, but it's really annoying tonight that these Canadian guys are getting better and better. It was a really one-sided game in some ways, and it sucks. I hate it. They did do some fight, and they did get back into it a bit late, and they had their chances. And I can't just straight up blame anything other than their execution. I mean, I really can't. They show up with who they show up with. Okay, you're going to get a little bit handicapped, in that way. Okay? And yeah, Josh Tiven, screwed up calls, calling crazy stuff. There's a couple calls that were out of bounds that were called out on us. That was actually off of Indiana. And we know because we were sitting right there at the end line. And we could see that the ball went off the hand of the Indiana Pacers, except for some reason it was pointing the other way. And the ball was given to the Indiana Pacers. Of course, the whistle. very different on different ends of the court in different kind of ways. Sure, Josh Tiven was a jerk, and in fact, I'm putting him on that list too. Like recently, Zach Zarba and Josh Tiven are getting on that list of referees that may slightly try to manipulate the game on the down low with where they call the fouls on which side and for who and how much. And I hate thinking that, I really do hate thinking that. Goldenberg is such a good luck referee for us. It's so weird that how bad it went with them. But of course, really, ultimately, once again, the only thing we can blame ultimately is execution, poor execution, not hitting open shots, not making shots, not doing things in the fourth quarter to keep up with them and get us on top. Because the whole game, you could see Indiana was scoring as easy as possible. We had no seal. We had no stops. I was like, we cannot get any consistent stops in this whole entire game in any of the quarters. How the hell are we going to stop the Indiana Pacers? First of all, there's an open door right down near the basket where they get layups, and then include that they're a very good three-point shooting team that is just killing us from the outside also. What are you going to do? That was the biggest difference last night, the shooting. If you look at this team stats, you'll see that we shot 44%. They shot 56%. They took 12 less field goal attempts than us, and they made 4 more field goals than us. So it's like we got 89 shots, but we only made 39. And then the three-pointers, they shot 52% from three. We shot 21% from three. That is horrible. 7 of 34 from three-point range, really, really bad. And then the free throws, 84% for them at the free throw line. They got way less free throws than us last night. In some ways, we can't blame the refs for not putting us on the line because they for damn sure put us on the line. 39 attempts. In fact, I can't remember the last time the Raptors got almost 40 free throw attempts in a basketball game. And this is the thing that hurt us. That really did hurt us at the free throw line. The fact that they were getting Pirtle to the line in particular over and over again really hurt us because we had 10 missed opportunities at the free throw line, 10 missed free throws, and we lost by 4 points. This is really bad. The shooting percentage is 44% from the field, 21% from three, and 74% from the free throw line. Maybe decent numbers in a game where both teams are struggling. But if one team is actually shooting well, those stats will not get you the win in the end. Not when you shoot those kind of percentages. It's just, oh my gosh. Anyway, let's get into the chat with the comments. I love to hear what all you guys are saying. I see that there's quite a few of you here already, and I appreciate you being here. Listen, in some ways, this stream will be covering the loss to the Pacers, but also in some ways, I want to celebrate what a fantastic day we had yesterday at Real Sports next to the Scotiabank Arena with everybody down there coming to see Tom, hanging out, palling around, having some food, having some laughs, telling some stories, getting to know each other, getting to see the faces with the names in the chat, and just hanging out. I want to celebrate the Canada aspect of last night also to a degree. That in some ways, sure, I'm upset for our guys, the Raptors, but in some ways, I'm so proud and excited for young Canadians like Andrew Nebhart and Ben Mathurin and the future of Canadian basketball. It was very, very mixed bag of things, and the results didn't exactly come out the way we wanted last night. But the more I think about how things went yesterday, it was a very, very awesome, amazing, incredible day, regardless of whether the Raptors played well or not and won. Let Me Cook is here. Let's hear it from Philly fan. Always good to start it off with Philly fan, who's actually quite a good friend, somebody who's very fair, and we do respect his opinion. Let Me Cook saying, hope the Raptor Freak crew had a great time last night. He's got the John Travolta Saturday Night Live emoticon. I love it. I was rooting for you guys. Y'all got 80-plus points between Siakam, Pirtle, and Fred combined, even though Fred was inefficient at 7 for 22. Yeah, there's an interesting stat. This is becoming one of my favorite Twitter accounts on Twitter right now. Her name is Kirthika, and she just posts amazing stats all over Twitter all the time. I just can't get over some of the stuff that she's dropping on here as far as knowledge. And this is the tweet from last night that I want to talk about. Karthika is saying, I may bring her up from time to time because I really am impressed with her as far as like the stuff she tweets about. She said this: Raptors took a 4-point lead with 9:14 remaining in the fourth last night. From then, they shot 6 for 17 from the field, 1 for 10 from three, and missed 5 free throws. Siakam, Pirtle, and Boucher, the buzzer beater at the end of the game, were the only Raptors to make a field goal in the last 9:13 of the game. And I hear that. And I'm like, you know what? We are not executing at the end of games. Like, what is this? Indiana was in the driver's seat. Indiana was like, yeah, this may be your home court. You may be trying to jumpstart your home crowd to get it active and involved and getting crazy in the game. But we're going to control the game. We're going to control who's on top, and we're going to manage the game like Fred would the other way towards us winning. And I'm so impressed with Rick Carlisle. He did such a good job using Miles Turner with his guards in certain ways and in juxtapositioning their attacks in different ways to really cultivate very, very good shots for them, easy shots. Just a really masterful job of coaching by Rick Carlisle in some ways. Really, really super impressed with him. I appreciate your comment, Let Me Cook. It was disappointing, but I'll tell you what, Tom Duke had a blast. Tom Duke had an amazing time. I mean, I don't even remember everything that happened yesterday. It was so amazing, whether it was Granny Evelyn coming to see us and hanging out with us and just being Granny Evelyn. We love you so much, Evelyn. You're amazing. Whether it was meeting the Saborin brothers and just getting to finally, Tom got to know David and why David hates Joel Embiid so much and just the characters that these guys are. They're just cool dudes. You know, meeting Monique and getting to see Monique and getting that nice picture you guys see on the stream and everybody. And it just was really, really cool to have the family from this channel all together yesterday, having laughs and good times. And of course, Greg being with us also. Greg, you were a badass. Thank you for driving us around in your van yesterday. It was really good time. And I had a lot of fun hanging out with Greg and just talking about our channels and talking about YouTube and talking about, you know, the Raptors and things that we care about. Nako, listen, I dropped the ball on this, Gerald. I feel so bad. You were there. You should have been with us too. We should have been linking you up and getting you involved and come with us. You know, after the game, Gerald, we waited around and went back to Real Sport and we hung out. We just hung out in the back. And while they filmed it, we didn't get the question. In fact, they told us afterward, Randy was like, you guys should have came and asked the question. And we were like, dang. But next time, if I do go to another game soon, I don't know if I'll do it next Tuesday with Adriana, but another game in the future, I will definitely hang out. And now that Randy knows about the Raptors freaks, we'll have to see how this develops because this is really interesting. We told him about the Ghubbstown Clink and the Raptor Freak channels. And who knows? If we get Randy Urban in here as a regular in our comments, guys, would you be upset? We might see him from time to time here just to keep a little pulse on what's going on with us and the fan nation. But Randy was so kind and nice and genuine. And I really appreciate him for that. I have a lot of respect for Randy Urban. And I feel like he gave me some really good advice last night. It was kind of cool. He was telling me about Denver Passionate Fan Group that I should go check out and see what they're doing and stuff like that. Just really cool, Randy, to meet you last night and talk to you. And really appreciate it. And in some ways, I feel like you were like giving me some help, helping the little guy out with some advice last night. I do really appreciate that, Randy, for sure. So Nako saying, Sai, the defense, the defense, Gerald, for sure. I was saying this the whole night there. I was like, y'all need to start stopping them somehow, some way. They're just scoring too easily and coming in and just getting points and buckets. And everything for us was difficult. It was like we were putting our hands and arms through briar patches to try and get the ball into our basket. Meanwhile, it was just like wide open, smooth. It was almost like the ball had a magnet to go into the hoop for the Indiana Pacers last night. Oh, man, it was tough. So Nako's saying I was sitting behind the net pretty close to Mike Myers. Best players were Pascal, Jakob, and Fred. Yeah, I guess that's kind of who you have to pick last night, Gerald. They were the guys who got 20 points each, And they were the guys who kind of stood out and did most of the heavy lifting and the important things last night. I'm questioning some of these decisions that we make with our managing and our rotations and our personnel and what is going on. Like, are we still tanking? Tell me the damn truth, Masai. What is going on with this team? Y'all acting like it's do or die, but in some ways, I feel like this is the end of the Tampa season. That this is Kyle Lowry sitting on a bench with a couple of his buddies, Tampa. And we know how that season ended. We lost a lot of games on the way out, and it seems like they were kind of on purpose. Are you trying to fall out of the play-in? I don't know what y'all are doing, Raptors, because this is a game y'all needed to win. This was a game that needed to be a W in the column, that we don't have a lot of games left. Y'all wanted to be 500. You wanted to have a winning record. You wanted to have this. You want to have that. This did not work towards any of that. And that is the thing that's the most disappointing about this. In some ways, I overlooked the whole idea. It's like, well, Tom's coming. It's going to be good vibes. We'll be going there. It's Indiana. Oh, we'll win for sure. Yeah. I took the Indiana Pacers lightly 3 times this season. And 3 times they beat us this season. And a common thread in a lot of these games this season is the kid from Montreal, Ben Mathurin. This guy is way above and beyond his age right now. It's like he came into the league a ready-made, hard-nosed, gutsy, do or die, I'm going to carry water, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to make this team win kind of guy. There's something about that quality in a player when they can play like that and they're already like this. He's a rookie. This man is taken over and has the eye of the tiger like he's been in this league for 5 or 7 years. And that's crazy to me. That in some ways, Ben Mathurin, to me, I was talking about this with the guys last night. I don't think this rookie of the year race is so cut and dry, Paulo Banchero at this point. In fact, I think there's 3 guys that are in this rookie of the year race. And the guy last night we saw, Benedict Mathurin, is one of those 3 guys. I think that because of his clutch factor, the way that he takes over games, the way that he has the attitude. I mean, I saw him jawing at Jakob when he's going to shoot the free throws. He's talking smack. He's telling the big Austrian, you are not going to make these free throws. And sure enough, he misses some of those free throws. And I'm just like, wow, this guy is something else. I don't think Paolo, you could say he's running away with the rookie of the year. Because in some ways, Ben Mathurin and Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder, the one with the how do I say it? He's the one with the Y, Jalen with the Y, the starter, the more famous one, the more important Jalen Williams. I shouldn't say he's more important. The one they use that is the more of the superstar, the higher draft pick. How about I put it that way? I think that those 2 guys are very, very close to Banchero. And in some ways, much like our young Scott last year, surging and playing very well at the end of the season, that may put a wrinkle into the rookie of the year race, that these guys may finish the season strong and do much more incredible things than Paolo in these last 2 weeks of the season, that they may even get come up and snatch up that rookie of the year award that was his all season long. And I, in some ways, want to see Ben get it. Jalen Williams, his stats are really good right now, too, for Oklahoma City Thunder. We just saw him. He was very good. Very, very good rookie. So I'm wondering about this rookie race. It may not be totally the Orlando Magic's first pick of the last year's draft. Slam dunk. Not at this point. In fact, I would like to see a lot of votes go towards that Pacer last night that was dominating. Yeah, for sure. Nako, I hate this. I love that you were sitting near Mike Myers, and I love that Mike Myers was at the game last night. That was very cool. It was fun to see him at halftime going into the lounge where all the players and every people go down underneath the entryway. So Mike was underneath down there with all the hobnobbing with all the hobnobbers, like Batia and different people like that. But yeah, we really dropped the ball, Gerald. We should have got you to Real Sports with us either after the game, or if you had came down there a little earlier, maybe you could have rendezvoused with us. I feel bad about this, Gerald. I really do. Dang, I totally missed through my head that you were coming to the game last night. I know you said it in the chat, But I feel like, I don't know. I didn't feel like, I don't know. We should have connected outside, you and I, through the phone like we would. My good friend Gerald. Apologize for that. Yeah, my 3 stars are exactly the same. Let's look at these guys real quick in their individual performances last night. Siakam was actually amazing in a lot of ways by the end of the game. He pissed me off in the first half. He really did not shoot well in the first half, and he didn't have hardly any points. He was like 6 points at halftime. And I was really worried about him getting a decent stat line, but boy, did he turn it on the second half, carrying us almost single handedly in some ways. 31 points, 11 of 17 from the field, 9 of 11 at the free throw line, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, and a block. He was not a plus or minus, he was a 0. So he was exactly even. Could have used maybe one of those 3-pointers to go down, but honestly, I feel like Siakam led the team in a very good way with the double-double, 31 and 10. I can't be too critical of him because he did show up by the end of the game, and in some ways, he was the only one in the crunch time that was getting us any points at that point. And it's too bad. We needed more support for Siakam, and it just is what it is. My second star is tough. Like, I'm not even that happy about giving these two last guys stars because in some ways I see their stats, and I know they did a good job in some ways, but in some ways they did not. Pirtle, 10 for 12, great shooting, but four offensive rebounds, 8 rebounds altogether, assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 23 points. But these are the two stats that bug me for Pirtle. He was a minus 13, which is the worst plus minus for any of the Raptors last night. And this doesn't totally make sense to me because we've seen since we reacquired Pirtle a really good defensive seal when he's on the court. But I guess maybe it's contingent on having guys like Scotty and Precious and Gary around with them, or that intactness of the five with the Raptors just never got established. And in some ways, I think it may be that they started Will Barton, that was a really poor decision. That may be one of the worst decisions Nick Nurse made last night. Some people were saying, why didn't you start the next guy up, which should have been Boucher? That he should have maybe started Boucher, or, even earlier in the season, we were starting Koloko. I know that would be a weird lineup to start Pirtle with Koloko. But I think, like Greg was saying at the game, they just wanted to get more Will Barton integrated with the team faster and sooner and way more. But it was a big, huge fail. He didn't look like he fit. He didn't make his shots hardly at all. He was a defensive liability in some ways, and we just didn't have a sound defense at all. So Pirtle didn't have that defensive seal, and he was 3 for 9 from the free throw line, and that actually really hurt us last night. Pirtle's free throws hurt us last night because honestly, they started putting him on the line on purpose, and that was real kind of a death knell for us. Ding, because the dude's not going to keep up. We don't have any stop power to stop them and stop them from getting us points at the end of the court. And then they're fouling us at the other end, but they're fouling Pirtle, and he's only getting us a return of 1 or 0 points when he goes to the line. Yeah, you figure that out. That's not a sound strategy for ending the game. And in some ways, because we didn't have any personnel, we had to play Pirtle at the end. And that was where Hack-a-Yak kind of did come into effect and mess us up. I hate it because he was really solid shooting, and he was our bread and butter of keeping scoring going for us for most of the game. It was always like Pirtle here and there, Pirtle getting a basket to keep us going. But he did really hurt us by the end of the game, and it's too bad. It's too bad. I'm not mad at him. It's just, I hate that, in some ways we had to rely on him to make free throws last night for us to win, and that didn't happen. Freddie was interesting. Fred only got 28 points. He was 7 of 22, so he wasn't very efficient, and that's too bad. 3 of 12 from 3. Yeah, I wish he had made some more of his threes. That would have really helped us a lot last night, considering that these other guys on Indiana were hitting all their threes, and there were a few of these guys that were just really good at three. And Nebhard, 3 for 5. 3 for 3 from Mathurin. Every 3 he took, he made. 2 for 3 for Nwara. Yeah, they just had a couple guys, 1 for 1 for Brissett. A couple guys that were just hitting them when they got them. and Freddie was 3 for 12. And that's too bad. That's just really too bad. You couple him with Will Barton, and the starting lineup backcourt for the Raptors was 3 for 17 from three. That is just dreadful. And then you put OG in there with them, and you got 4 for 24. 4 for 24 from three between those three guys, the most important three-point shooters in the game last night. Yeah, that's just not going to cut it. Fred had a double-double, though, 28 points with 11 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals, 5 turnovers, but 11 for 12 at the free throw line. That was pretty good there. But, yeah, I begrudgingly, I would not give Fred one of the stars of the game if he had this stat line and we had other guys that played better and more efficient. I wouldn't include him because he did miss too much. He missed way too much last night. But all right, let's see. Mike's here. Logical Raptors fanatic saying, great pick. Wow, everyone loving. Great. Tough, weird game for sure. Missing guys is really killing us this year, but it's the past now and going to look to Friday and push for the playoff experience. All right, Mike, you keep shining that light, Mike. Logical Raptors fanatic. Check out his channel. Very statistical and analytical and breaking down all the numbers for us and giving them to us in the way that we can understand. I appreciate you, Mike. Yeah, I think this was a weird game last night. In fact, part of it was weird because we just didn't show up in some ways. It's very, very weird. You know, they had the Rap Social City event 2 nights ago before this, and there's going to be some really cool footage. I can already tell from some of the pictures that have been released. Scotty's wearing one of his fat toque head things, and you know, it's the fun event where they do things like haze the rookies and make them sing in front of everyone, or you know, do something goofy like dance or something. So we will see that footage with Ron Harper Jr. and Christian Coloco having to do some rookie hazing a little bit at some point. But it looked like it was a great event. Looked like everybody had smiles and stuff like that. But I'm like, why are these guys not playing? Like, did you guys really calculate and think? Like, I wonder, did the Raptors go into the locker room and say, hey, who's kind of hurt? Who kind of feels like they're hurt? Who's kind of a little nagging injury? And Gary's like, oh, well, my arm feels a little weird. And then Precious is like, yeah, I know my leg maybe a little bit off. Okay, well, you guys can sit tonight with Scotty, and we're just going to go with everybody else because we're load managing on the down low or something. Or it's just nagging injuries. Like, I really wonder how hurt Gary and Precious were last night, and it bugs me because in some ways, all hands on deck. We need everybody out there playing. And, you know, I don't want to dispute whether they're hurt or not. I'm sure they are. But how hurt were they? And how often, where's that threshold of when you say, okay, guys, you aren't playing or you are playing? And when do they decide it personally? And, you know, all this kind of stuff. I just don't understand. Like, I totally get why Scotty sat last night. We know why Scotty sat. But we don't understand why these other two guys sat exactly. I mean, I asked Randy last night after the game. I asked Randy, I said, I have no idea why Precious and Gary didn't play last night. And he told me the reasoning during the day. They said that it was this and this with their ailments and stuff. I'm like, still, that's a little weird. That's a little weird. This is starting to feel like Tampa season, the end of the year. Kyle Lowry's sitting with OG all of a sudden. Is OG really hurt? No, he's just sitting this game. Brian Windhurst. Something's weird here. All right, let's keep going. Space Cadet is here. Good to see Space Cadet. One of the most positive and real one Raptor freaks. I really appreciate Space Cadet. Let's see what Space Cadet is saying is feel bad and wish they had gotten a win for you guys. Bad luck missing 3 rotation players. Raptors just don't have any depth. William Liu went hard on them last night for the lack of effort on defense, too. Yeah, and rightfully so. You go, Will Liu. We saw Will Liu for a second at Real Sports last night. We didn't talk to him. He was over there sitting before the game, hanging out. And I was like, Greg, Will Liu, 9 o'clock. And Greg was like, well, 9 o'clock. He's trying to figure out the clock. And it's like, oh, you mean to you? I'm like, and then he said, you definitely weren't in the military, Lex, because you didn't do that very well. I was like, you're right, Greg. And I did screw that up. But yeah, rightfully so. I'm with Will on this. The defensive effort was horrible last night. I mean, I'm really hating this Will Barton move at this point. You know, I want to like this guy, but in some ways, he's kind of becoming what's in the real mascot matchup, a fake wizard. It's like he was sold a whole thing on what he could do with as a vet and the 3-point shooter and a scorer and a guy that just get buckets. And yeah, we're not getting that. In fact, somebody put on Twitter last night, it totally makes sense. We're trying to start a player that was waived by a team that's lower than us in the standings. Think about that logic. Seriously. Will Barton was waived by the Wizards, who have a worse record than us. We go and pick him up, and then a couple weeks later, we're actually starting him in a game. Like, some ways, this doesn't totally make sense with logic, Raptors. That, this is the Wizards' discard. They're like, yeah, we don't need him on our team. And we're not even trying to make the playoffs or anything because we're kind of in a place that's kind of in between. And we go and pick him up. And then, like, a couple weeks later, we're trying to start him. Yeah, I don't get this judgment. I don't get this reasoning. Why would you put him in the lineup other than, oh, maybe you're thinking, oh, well, this will give us a good opportunity to work him in and work him really good with these guys, get way more reps, gel him as fast as possible in time for the playoffs, just in case for any kind of reason. Maybe, but honestly, this is stupid. This is so dumb because in some ways, the strength of the Indiana Pacers is in their backcourt. And you don't want to put out a guy who's barely worked with Fred in the backcourt schemes defensively that the Raptors run that are so intricate of cheating and stealing the balls, just like Gary and OG and guys would do, and have this guy out there like this. He really was a dud on both ends. He was missing shots, missing threes. Last night, Will Barton was 0 for 5 from the three-point line. And then 2 for 8 overall. And he honestly barely played in the second half because he looked so bad in the first. And it was bad on both ends. I feel bad for the guy. I wish he could get a good game going. But, honestly, by the end of the game, the guy who looked the best out of all those backup point guards, it was really like Will, Jeff Doughton, and Malachi. Well, Malachi looked the best last night. In fact, we got turned right around to the point where we're saying, well, I kind of wish Malachi played more. Or Malachi, I'm back to depending on him or hoping for him more in some ways. Jeffrey is not totally 100%. I can tell. His health, he's not totally exactly right. And he's looked like that at the 905 games recently, and he did last night also. Jeff Doughton off the bench, just 1 for 1. He had that nice little shot, but he didn't play very long. And in some ways, maybe we should have seen more of him, especially because he's only got a certain amount of eligibility for games. If you're going to want to get the games out of him, why play him so little? I don't get that, Nick Nurse. Why play Jeff Doughton so little if you're complaining and worrying about, oh, he only has a certain amount of eligible games on his two-way, and then you only play him 6 minutes? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. In fact, in some ways, you may have needed to start Jeff Doughton over Will Barton last night and may have had way better success defensively, slowing down the ball right away at the beginning of the game. Really disappointed. OG, in some ways, I haven't brought him up yet, but in some ways, OG was really bad last night. Obviously, our defense was really bad. So in some ways, he wasn't doing anything to do any plumbing. Who was he shutting the water off on last night? Who on the Pacers had a bad time last night? I'm going to look at them real quick. Well, Miles Turner actually really kind of dominated Jakob in a way at times. I hate that. Nebhart was crazy good. Really, really had a career game. And this is something we had to realize coming in, that these two Canadian guys were coming to play in Canada for the first time in their NBA careers. And that meant something to them. In fact, people joked on Twitter that they got the +5 bonus for being in their home country and that they took it really seriously. And in some ways, the Pacers really had ideas on winning this game way more than we did just because of these young men, Canadians, coming back and playing their first ever NBA game on Canadian soil. They kicked some butt and they wanted it more than us. I mean, in some ways, I guess I could say that OG slowed down Mathurin and Buddy Hield because Buddy Hield really wasn't a factor in the game as much as he could have been. Only 1 3 for Buddy. Thank God. That's kind of like having mercy on the Raptors and considering how things went last night. But if he had been going too, oh my gosh, what a nightmare last night would have been, even worse. And that's the thing. These guys had a purpose and a meaning and what they wanted to do last night. And I feel like the Raptors didn't. That it very much is young Andrew Nebhard wanted to impress his friends and family like an SGA did recently when he came through. and that Ben Mathurin cared about playing in Toronto, that it mattered to him. He was looking forward to it. He very much wanted to win on Canadian soil today. They said this so much. I was looking at their interviews from before the game, and these guys were very focused on wanting to get that W in Canadian soil, and they wanted to make the Canadian history. Starting three Canadians for the first time in the NBA and getting that win. And then in a way, it's a win for Canada basketball, but definitely not for the Raptors. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right, let's see. Tom, fun guy saying, okay, so I recognize Monique, Tom Duke, Greg, and obvious Lex. And I also recognize the last guy, but name not coming to mind. That person in the picture, the other person that you don't know is in that picture is David Saborin. Fun guy. That is David Saborin, the Raptor Freak trivia champion. Well, he's not the champ yet, but he's the leader in the trivia this year. Yes, that is David. And yeah, he's the guy who's always cussing out Joel Embiid. It was so fun to be around David and Peter last night. Those guys are a blast. They're my kind of guys. We're just real. We're real kind of dudes. There's no nonsense. What you see is what you get with the Saborin brothers. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Fun guy. I was joking with them too last night. It's like it'd be so fun. It'd be fun because we have some of the personalities from here in person together yesterday. I'd be like, what if we had all 30 or so of the regulars that come in every morning and watch? And we're all sitting in a room and we're doing the same thing, but in a room. It would be so fun to see all of us together and the assortment of people from all walks of life, and just see how, what the common threads that I feel like have happened, bringing so many of us that are enthusiastic about this channel, is that we're just like really honest, real people. That in some ways we are very conscientious people that care and want to see things better in the world, that we care about the world being a better place. So we know that our own individual contributions can really change that and help things in our own little way, in our sphere of influence. And I'm so proud to meet people like Tom Duke, him coming on this trip and realizing the character and the integrity of this man has, because he's a great dude. He's a very positive, good person. And, getting Evelyn together with everybody and the Saborins, it just makes me realize that we are birds of a feather. That, if Bradley comes, or if Fun Guy comes from 905 all of a sudden, I know we'd get the same thing. That same one, like really genuine people that are just cool and like have a heart. And so it was really awesome. But that was David in that picture, Fun Guy. It was good stuff. Let's see. G saying this game shows they need shot creators. Gary is the only true shot creator they have off the bench. I think this is very true. I think that G's right in a lot of ways. I mean, there were some plays last night that just didn't make any sense. Like OG, why weren't we trying to find OG better? And in some ways, OG was a key to us getting things going better in our offense, that we just didn't utilize or find him well enough. And that would kind of bug me. Like, we need to hit all cylinders. The way we won recently is we have like six guys in double digits. Well, you're missing Scotty and Gary. Those are two of those guys that would normally jump in and get one of those double digit spots. And then you see OG really struggle last night and only score 7 points. And that's tough. Well, you don't have Scotty, you don't have Gary, and then you got OG who's only scoring 7, and then Will Barton is absolute deadwood in the starting lineup. You got 3 of our Raptors carrying us and having to score so many points between Fred, Pascal, and Pirtle. And oh man, that's just tough. It's just tough, man. It's really, really tough. Let's see. Yeah, I agree with you, G. I don't know what's going on with this team. In some ways, I don't even understand. Like, the problems I had with 905 last week are now with the main roster. It's like they mirror each other so much in some weird ways. Like, what the hell is going on with choices? Oh man, it is what it is. Evelyn's here. Let's see what Evelyn's saying. Good morning, fam. And so happy meeting up with Lex, Tom, Greg, and the Saborin brothers last night at Real Sports Bar. Safe travels at Tom Duke. Yeah, I got a picture from Tom just a little while ago. He's on his way to the airport, and he is on his way back to British Columbia. So Tom will not be in the chat with us because he is going to Pearson. and he is going to be traveling right now. So we won't see Tom this morning, unfortunately. I'm sure he'll watch this later and he'll enjoy seeing all the reminiscing of yesterday and stuff like that. It really was special. And in some ways, I want to get out there and see Tom's neck of the woods from what he was describing to me about where he lives in Victoria. He calls it God's country, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful place. And he really sold me on some of the things about it out there. Very interesting. Isaac Campbell is here. Love that SB4 guy. Get better, friend. Yeah, it was tough to see him in street clothes last night. In the beginning of the game, they listed who was inactive, and it only had Otto and Delano's names on there. So I got some false hope. I was like, well, Scotty's not listed. He's going to play. No. And it was even worse than Scotty's not listed and he's not going to play. It was OG and Gary and Precious are also not on there, but they are not going to play. They had their own little like group at the end of the bench, the black coat group. There was Scotty, Gary, Precious, and Delano, and they're all wearing black, and they're kind of little. They get up and they stand around. They looked all cool because we were kind of sitting over near them. We're near the entrance where they come in, and there were. Man, when they hit their daggers to beat us late in the game, when I think it was like Nemhard or one of those guys hit a big three that really messed us up at a key moment in the last couple minutes of the game. Everybody was standing and watching except for Scott. Scott was sitting on the bench, and they were all watching. But Scotty was watching, looking up at the jumbotron. And when they hit that dagger, he was like, "Oh!" And he like looked really shocked for a second and stuff. It was a tough game. I hated this game last night in some ways because it really does remind me of a very late Tampa season game with how we load managed or what we did last night with guys sitting out. Really smacked to that. So good to see you, Evelyn. Evelyn, you are such a fun person to be around. You're hilarious. And we really enjoyed meeting you. I know Tom, everybody getting to know you outside of the stream and really knowing you in person. There's like, Evelyn is somebody to look up to, somebody to like want to aspire to be like later in life because she's just so full of life and just fun. And age does not mean anything to Evelyn. Trust me. She is very much somebody that can maximize her fun. No matter what age she is having a blast, y'all. I'm telling you, she was wild off the chain yesterday, Evelyn. Oh my gosh. I told her, I said, listen, because one of the things Evelyn likes to do is bring us gear. She loves finding good Raptors gear on good wholesale prices in different places. And that's her love language. She loves to give Raptors gear to good Raptor fans like us. And that's part of the reason why she came down there. She wanted to give Tom some Raptors gear, the Saborin brothers, even Greg, getting some gear from Granny Evelyn. And I say, listen, Evelyn is the drippiest drip, that she has so much drip that her drip drips onto other people, is what I was telling her last night. Because like she really does. She gave all these awesome shirts and hoodies to the guys yesterday. And it was just so fantastic. Evelyn, you're so generous and just such a beautiful person. Oh, we love you, Granny Evelyn, so much. Yes, we do. Logical saying, salute the real ones, Project Truth always. You guys definitely were more right with Barton. It's not panning out at the moment, but hopefully Scotty gets back and Flynn played well. And we saw Doughton too. I'm on trying them. Listen, Mike, I hate this. I really wanted this Will Barton to work out, but I don't know. I'm really upset in some ways. In some ways, he does feel like that fake wizard that has no powers to me, that I'm making up in the real mascot matchup story right now. I hate that so much. Scotty, yeah, we need to get Scotty back as soon as possible. And I am very impressed with Malachi. Let's talk about Malachi for a second. He came in and got 18 minutes, 2 of 5 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 2 of 3 from the free throw line, 8 points, 1 rebound, 1 steal, 2 turnovers. But he was one of only 2 Raptors that had a positive plus minus for us, a +6. Malachi hit some key shots and he just looked more capable. He looked like he fit with our system better. He looked like he was playing better with the other guys. Of course, him and Boucher have a special chemistry that they've built up over his career with the Raptors because they've been in a lot of lineups together. They spent a lot of time playing together in the Tampa season. So Malachi and Chris are always like good pair to have on the court together because they really do know each other very well and they play off each other very, very well also. But yeah, he was solid. I felt like he was really solid. I felt like Will was a disaster. And then Jeffrey didn't get to play enough. We saw a little bit of good stuff from Jeff. But I still like, if you're going to waste the game playing Jeff because he's only eligible for certain ones, play him. Play him. Don't just put him out there for one stint and then never put him out there again. Yes, it was too bad. G saying the one good thing about this game was Pascal paced himself better and had a better fourth quarter showing. Yeah, he was frustrating at times, though. This was one of those games where the referees were not calling a lot of contact near the basket early. And what the Pacers were doing under the instruction of Carlisle was very much like the dirty little hits, the dirty little swats, just totally screwing up our inside kind of like shooting. And none of these bunnies, none of these shots that Pascal was trying to get early were dropping. They were missing, or he'd get fouled, and then, no calls. And I hated that because in some ways we couldn't get our offense going, partly because we were getting hit. And there's no calls, there's no nothing. And then they only make the shots and they just look like they suck. Like they're just bad at shooting. Well, there is a lot of contact and things going on the download that's being allowed, but not crossing the threshold for where they will actually blow the whistle. And that bugs me. That refereeing is such a subjective thing. These guys really do kind of decide things on the fly, the way they like to, see things or whatever. And it pisses me off to a degree. So Siakam had a really rough start, but he picked it up and he really looked like he was cooking late. He was definitely cooking late. And the fact that he got over 30 points in this game is fantastic. Because at a certain point in the game, I turned to the guys and I said, Siakam does not have enough points. At halftime, he only had like 6 points. So he really turned it on late and scored almost all the points. Perry consistent. Yes, Alvin Williams. Bam. Yes, we love Alvin so much on this channel. And I was so blessed and happy to speak with him personally last night. And I told him, listen, he knows I'm a real one and a real fan. I was going to A-Dub. A Boogie, yes, second to none. I was saying all this stuff, and I talked to him about like how I used to work in the arena, and I was there when they were playing the Sixers in that epic playoff series with Iverson. And I just told him all this stuff about, how much I appreciate him. He was always my favorite Raptor back in the day. And that I've got his jersey behind me on the wall. And he's like, oh, man, a true fan. And even when Alvin was leaving Real Sports last night, after Raptors Tonight, he walked by our table and he could have just walked right by us and went right out the door. But he turned around and circled back and came back and had one more last conversation with Greg, Tom, and I before he left. And it was like he kept having to dap me. I was like, yes, you're a real one. When it's something just cool that like your hero, a hero of yours, he recognizes that you're a real fan because you talk to him in a way and you give him such respect. And he's like, okay, this guy really knows me. And he really is a real big fan of mine. That, I could feel Alvin feeling the love from me and appreciating it and giving me love back. It was so awesome. I got to dap Alvin like 5 times. I was like, dap. He kept wanting to shake my hand. I was like, I don't really like shaking people's hands these days. I'm more dapping kind of guy. And then on the way out, we met Ben Uzo, which was crazy too. It was like Greg was saying, hey, come talk to this guy real quick, Greg, Ghubbstown Clink. I was like, okay, who's this? He's like, this is Ben. He used to he used to play for the Raptors. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to remember Ben. It's like Uzo. Oh, Ben Uzo. And I was like, wait, Ben Uzo is famous in Raptors history for a certain thing. And I was trying to figure it out with him. I was like, there's something you did while you were on the Raptors that makes you famous for some reason. He's like, well, yeah, okay. And I was like, yeah, you have a stat line that was really, really good at some point when you were on the team. He said, well, I had a game where I scored double digits in points, rebounds, and assists. And I was like, that's right. Ben Uzo is one of a very short list of Raptors. I think there's like 20 or so of these guys, maybe 20 to 30, that have gotten a triple-double in a game in the NBA. That Ben Uzo, I just happy to say, listen, man, and I gave him some shine to his face too. We talked about Leo Routen's this week and how Leo Routen's career in the NBA may not be impressive to people. They may be like, oh, yeah, well, he did this and he was only there for this long. Or is like, shut up. The man made the league. The man made a 3 in the NBA playoffs. The man did so much more than any of most people ever in the history of humanity. These are such a small percentage. people that made the league in the first place. And I'm like, listen, Ben Uzo probably doesn't get a lot of shine. He doesn't get recognized. So in that moment, I said, yeah, you're one of the only Raptors that has a triple double in our history of our franchise. Respect a Raptors triple double. And I felt like I brought him his day because he's getting recognized in some way that he deserves to be recognized, but not the common average fan would know about him having a triple double for the Raptors. And it was cool. That little moment was cool too when we were with Ben Uzo on the way out at a Raptors Tonight also. Just really good, fun stuff. Talking to Alvin and Randy Urban. And then also Jack was there. And that was funny too, because Greg has this whole thing about making him breakfast. And he went and talked to him. We didn't actually talk to Jack, myself. But Greg was over there talking to him. So, yeah, good to see you, Perry Consistent. Perry Consistent. I get it. That is something about this channel you'll find if you consistently come here that is very consistently on at 9:30. So, welcome, Perry. Good to see you. Canadian Cowboy is here. I love this. Bradley, good morning, Lex and Raptor Freak. Sorry I couldn't make it, even though we lost. I hope you all had a great time to the next game. I can't wait to tell the playoffs. I still believe. Let's go, Bradley, shining a light, even though this is in some ways a very dark, dismal, rainy day in the 416 this morning. Listen, Bradley, I understood you were in Bowmanville yesterday with your job on site, that it was going to be a little bit of a haul to get you all the way downtown to Union Station and come and see us last night. But we know you were there in spirit. We talked about you while you were there. Evelyn would say, oh, Bradley, I need to see Bradley and all this kind of stuff. Don't worry. We were in the conversation. And we were very much, even the Saborin brothers were like, yeah, Bradley from last year and all this stuff. But we missed you, Brad. And just have a good day. And thank you for staying positive on a day like today. Yeah, there was a lot of fun. There was a lot of joy in the game. It's just too bad the guys didn't win. It's just too bad. CC saying, great pick. I watched Raptors Tonight, hoping to see you all. I'm going to join in next time and have a Raptors Freak meetup. All right, CC, I hope you will come and join us next time we do something like this. I know for sure we'll do one at the end of August, but who knows? Maybe something will come up before then. Now, CC, if you really want to see me on Raptors Tonight, all right, when the guy comes up and asks the question, the Ibaka jersey guy, after him, for the whole rest of the Raptors Tonight, if you look over Randy's shoulder, you'll see me in the Scotty Barnes 4 jersey in the background at the bar, standing behind them during the show. So Raptors Freak was on Raptors Tonight, but in the ambiance of the background, the picture and stuff like that. We wanted to give them respect. I was telling Greg, you need to just go up there, man, and say hi to Jack. You know Jack, bro. Greg, go talk to him. He's like, no, man, come on, man. I'm feeling shy. I don't feel like doing it. And Tom Duke was like, not about getting on camera too. And I was like, Tom, come on, man. You could be on Raptors tonight. And it would be very incredible in some ways, because people will be like, that's Tom Duke. In some ways, Tom, you have a following because you're in there so much. In fact, it was funny when we came up to Randy and we were talking to him. This is Tom Duke. He's always in your chat. Randy knew Tom Duke's name from the chat. I could tell the way he reacted to him. It was kind of like, you're the Tom Duke who's in the chat all the time. And then we told him he came all the way from Victoria, British Columbia. And he was super impressed after that he only came for the game and hanging out with us and stuff like that. And then he introduced us to Teresa Resch. She was like standing right there too. Oh, and guys, here's Teresa. Hey. It was weird, man. It was so weird and just worlds colliding. Raptors, worlds colliding on there. We love Raptors Tonight crew and everything they do for us and the late night post game wrap up. They're so good. They are so good. Randy Urban is so professional, y'all. I got to tell you right now, I have so much respect for him, meeting him and understanding how genuine and cool he is. He's such a cool dude, guys. He really is. I was super impressed. That's what we were saying afterwards. Like Tom and I were saying, man, Randy's so cool. He's such a cool guy. So y'all put some respect and love on Randy Urban's name. Denouncing and making fun of him, that's the co-host's job. Those guys get the fun of abusing poor Randy on stage. I was telling Greg afterwards, Randy's stick is very much in the vein of Conan O'Brien, a great comedian that I highly respect and love. Conan O'Brien is a master of comedy, but his comedy is a brand of self-deprecating comedy. And in some ways, Randy Urban comes from that school of comedy, that he is the butt of the joke and that he very much doesn't mind that. And those guys are roast masters. It's almost like Raptors Tonight is like their own personal Dean Martin roast every night, where Randy is the roast honoree, and that Jack, Leo, Sherman, Paul Jones, of course, the great Alvin Williams. They're all going to get their roasting in on Randy Urban. Some people get upset about that, but y'all need to know that that is part of the shtick. It's just part of the shtick, and it's all in good-natured fun. In fact, they were saying, I think they said last night on the show, yeah, we treat you like this on the show, but when we're not on the show, of course, we're kind and nice and very loving towards Randy, guys. It's for the show, y'all. It's the gimmick. I love it too. All right, let's see. Monique saying, "Good morning, everyone. We must win out the next games. Go Raptors! Always a pleasure and a privilege." And I just love seeing Monique at the game, and so happy we got that group picture with Mo. And it just always warms my heart when we're around Monique. And I'm so happy that Tom got to meet Mo yesterday, and we got that great picture. It's just fantastic. Monique, you are a true pillar in the community of the Raptors fans, and we love and appreciate you so much. So it's always good to be in your presence. Nako's saying, being that close to all of them, they're huge, even Fred. Gerald, you're funny, man. That's cool that you were so close and not far from Mike Myers. Gerald, I got to catch up with you, man. I'm going to have to get you on the phone very soon, and maybe you and I need to hang out as soon as possible at some point. I feel real bad about not integrating you with us. I told Tom all about our history, you and I, Gerald, and the Schmendricks and all the shows we used to do and stuff, and gave him more a perspective of how close you and I actually are. So, I feel so stupid. Like, why didn't we get Nako to come hang out with us? He was right there at the game. You could have been there with the Saborans and Mo and all this. You could have been in that picture for this stream. I really dropped the ball on this, Gerald. Man, I kind of wish you'd reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm here. I'm over here. Come find me." G saying, "I saw Tom Duke on the screen during the game quickly." That's cool. You saw him during the game on the screen? That's awesome. We were loud. I mean, I kind of lost my voice. It's a little weird this morning. I was very loud. I got a couple people giving me weird looks, but for the most part, this was funny. There were these guys sitting in front of us that were younger guys, right around 19, early 20s. And they were cool dudes, but I was yelling so much, and they were laughing about it and joking, but they were cool. They were all right with me being all loud in their ears and stuff like that, because they knew it was that's just, people go to games to get loud, and they're youngsters. Who are they going to complain? It's like the old guys would be complaining instead, but no, these youngsters were fine with it. But it was hilarious. So we're yelling defense, and man, I was trying hard, but it's true. Like Fred's quote from the press conference recently, where he's saying the energy in the crowd, it can be shit, partly because we play like shit. And that was kind of what was happening last night. A lot of people would say that part of the problem was, I hate that the crowd can't just come and be who they are, no matter what happens on the court. They really take cues from whether the team's playing well or not. I wish that we could just be an unconditional support to them and just come out and be loud and be like, I don't care if they're missing all their shots. And we get really apprehensive and scared when they're not playing well, and we shut up. And I hate that. I was really being defiant and yelling defense constantly last night. But it really was not the best crowd energy, and partly because it was mirroring the team's effort and how well they were doing on the court. And that's too bad. I really did. That made me mad in some ways, because we were there, and we were there with a purpose to be very loud and try and make a difference. But it wasn't to be last night. Last night was Canada's night, and it was for those young Canadian guys. Let's see. Infamous saying, "Morning, tough game, but it's to be expected with Scotty Precious and Gary out. That's a lot of scoring out of the lineup. That's a lot of scoring. That's a lot of defense. That's a lot of intangibles. That's a lot of accrued reps and not knowing each other." Yeah. In some ways, these guys showed how important they are. There's different people on this team. There's the Pascal, Fred, and Pirtle contingencies all from the same rookie class. And then you got the younger guys. And in some ways, the younger guys said, "Hey, we're on strike for one night," or not on strike. Or they just said, "We're not here. And you're going to see how much you guys miss us. You're going to see how much we actually contribute to how much towards winning." And yeah, that was evident last night. Having three very key rotational pieces for the Toronto Raptors out last night, we couldn't afford that. And in some ways, the Pacers withstood not having Chris Duarte and Tyrese Halliburton way better than we did, not having Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent Jr., and Precious Achiuwa. But this is true, Infamous. I don't want to use an excuse because I'd like to think our team can beat any team with whoever comes and shows up. But that's not true. It's not true. Sue saying, good morning, everyone. Sorry we didn't get a win for the Raptor Freaks that went. Tough loss. The first quarter was unfortunate. Pascal, Jakob, and Fred scored well. Not sure what happened to OG. Missed our 3 out. Yeah, it was weird. It was very weird. I mean, OG's been so on recently. His shooting percentage has been fantastic. He's had super efficient games. He's had top-notch masterclass games at both ends of the court, shutting down particular players and also having really good offense himself. And last night, in some ways, he missed on both sides. I mean, if he had been playing so much better defense, I don't know. Like maybe Indiana wouldn't have scored as well. I was like, who is guarding Mathurin? Who is guarding TJ McConnell? Who is guarding Andrew Nebhard? These guys were working around and doing whatever they wanted. And it seemed like things were too easy for the Pacers in some way. And in some ways, when things look like they're too easy on the other end, well, who's the head foreman of the plumbing company? It's OG. And in some ways, OG wasn't, I mean, maybe he was doing well on his individual people that he was covering. But for some reason, I guess Rick Carlisle had a better offense to negate any kind of that stuff. I don't know. It is really bad and too bad. Sue, we missed you yesterday. And Tom got your message and saw, he's like, yeah, it's too bad you couldn't get down there. But we understand you're coming from out of town. And we totally understand. You were there in spirit for sure. For sure, Sue. You were there in spirit. Yeah, just a really bad start. And we kind of never really recovered from it for the whole game. Cool Cat saying, good morning, Raptor Free crew. Love the group pick. I missed out. Game should have been a W. Our point guard didn't want to be a floor manager, hunted his shots. Only very poor decisions. Nick Nurse and Fred spoiled it, not team focused. Clutch agenda. Oh my gosh. All right. I mean, I won't dispute Cool Cat because I don't know the truth. And that these are connections and ties that are true. That clutch clients of Nick Nurse and Fred VanVleet now at this point. I do blame Nick for some of the stuff last night. I don't know if I blame Alex McKechnie for not letting these guys or these guys not playing. I blame that maybe. I really blame the load management decisions, or maybe that they couldn't play, that hurts. But in some ways, the decisions in relation to those to fill in the void were kind of dumb. Like, Nick, I get what you're kind of trying to do with Will, but what a huge backfire and failure. And honestly, it's cost us a win in the season, in a very tight season where we every win and loss has mattered so much. It's just stack it on the pile of disappointing Raptor losses this season where we just don't have enough to come up and win. We could have won that game last night. We could control that game and took care of business and brought the W home for Tom Duke being in town. But no, it's a perfect storm of different things coming together. The Pacers shooting really well, playing very well. Rick Carlisle, good coach, very good, smart strategy to get good, effective offense against the Raptors defense. And then on our side, we're missing shots. Nick's making questionable rotational decisions. And then we have players missing. And then add in the refs are not friendly, and they're being a little screwy right around the beginning of the fourth quarter once again. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff contributing to the loss for us. And it sucks. It sucks. I don't want to think that what you're saying is totally true, Cool Cat, as far as an agenda underlying for clutch clients and people that may be coming up on contracts. But, oh, man. I don't know. So I can't dispute it. I can't say that you're wrong. Let's see. Race mode's here. Good to see Edmund. Always good to see Edmund in the morning. And always good. Man, Edmund, I really enjoy your Instagram. You have such interesting lifestyle, and what you're doing and what your interests are very fascinating to me. I really appreciate you being here. I wish I could have joined your meetup. Tough loss, but it looks like you guys still had a great night. Yeah, that is the one thing. I mean, listen, like I said, it may not have been a win for the Raptors, but it was a win for this channel and our good friends that watch this channel all getting together. And then also a win for Canada. It really is a win for Canada. In some ways, in some ways, I don't like Ben Mathurin. He is a villain to me, and he very much has kind of like killed us a couple times this season. But I have to because he's a Canadian. He's going to be playing for Nick Nurse in Team Canada, right? He's on the team, or maybe he's not. I don't know. Yeah, he's on the team. He said that through the game that he's looking forward to killing people this summer in a Team Canada jersey. So yeah, we miss you too, Edmund. And I know at some point you will definitely join us for one of these get-togethers. I know you will. Your time will be coming when you're free, and we're going to have one. It'll coincide at the right time, so you can make it. G saying, why were they all injured? They have had days off. I know. I don't get this either, G. It's ridiculous. Like seriously, these are always fishy. The end of the year kind of injuries like this, the load management injuries, they're very fishy to me. And why those guys in particular? Did they have too much fun at Rap Social City the night before? They were all there and they had a good time and there was a lot of smiles and everything was great. But why? I was like, did they have a rough practice on Tuesday where they played really hard and guys got hurt at practice? I don't remember where these guys got these injuries or when they got hurt, Gary and Precious. I mean, I know about Scott. We saw all that. But those other two guys, I have a lot of questions about. I really do. Sue's saying, although Fred had a lot of points, he was making some bad shot choices in the fourth. Some of those shots should have been passed. Some shots he took were just too hard, and he didn't need to take them. He was missing so much late in the game. Like I said, I read that stat from Karthika, and she's saying that like Fred didn't make one of the field goals in the last 9 minutes of the game. That this man did not make a single field goal in almost the whole last 10 minutes of the game. And that's impossible. I'm sorry. But you're not going to have Gary Trent. You're not going to have Scotty Barnes around. And Fred's not going to hit any shots in the last 10 minutes of the game. Yeah, I'm going to tell you we lost. That just adds up and sounds like a loss, what I just described. Are you going to tell me that Fred doesn't hit a single damn shot in the last 9 minutes of the game last night? Yeah, we're going to lose. Because that's absolutely the time we need him the most. To Fred to shoot up, stand up, and make some shots and take us home towards the victory. It's just too bad. He was kind of reverting. You're right, Sue. Back to kind of bad habits of decision making. He's been recently very, very good with the decisions whether to pass or shoot himself. And maybe last night, maybe he felt like taking more on the shoulders because of the guy's absences. Or maybe it was just, you're right, that he needed to make better decisions in those individual moments. In some ways, I think you're exactly right. He could have really, really played better in the fourth. It's too bad. Randolph's here. Beloved Raptor freaks, most informative gang. Our hearts are sad after another heartbreaking loss. Yeah. Well, at least we have some positive things to talk about as far as the triumphant trip that Tom Duke just went on. I think that you talked to Tom about his trip to Toronto in the weeks and days to come. When he goes back home and he talks to his family and his friends there. He's going to have a lot of fun stories about his trip to Toronto and the good, crazy, cool things that he got to do while he was here. I was really, really happy to spend both days and hang out with him and bring him around Toronto and show him the sights. We did all the regular touristy stuff. Took him to Chinatown, took him to Kensington Market, took him to Graffiti Alley, took him down to City Hall and showed him the Eaton Center and CN Tower, Ripley's Aquarium, the Skydome. All that good stuff. And then all around the building a bit, like walked around the building, taught him a little bit about my history with the building, working there, and different things about the building that I know about the building from the history of the Air Canada Center / Scotiabank Arena. So yeah, it was a successful game and a trip for that, but not with the outcome for the Raptors for sure. It's too bad. Let's see. G say, I understand the Fred stuff, but OG and Will as starters shot less than 20% from the field and 14% from three. They took 22 shots and only made 1 of 12 combined from three. Yeah, that is just ugly. That is horrible shooting. And this is true. Like, listen, you don't have these guys playing, and then you have guys that are playing. Like, OG usually produces way more and helps us way more with those guys in the lineup. Maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe OG couldn't play as well without Scotty and Gary or these guys playing next to him in some ways. I don't know. That could have been part of the factors. But you're right, G. I'm not going to come after Fred. In some ways, he did produce and get us some points in some ways. And there are other guys that really didn't do any of that at all. Looking at our bench, once again, anemic. We scored 21 points off the bench. And meanwhile, on the other side, they got, holy crap, that's 24, 29, 30. They got 40 points from the bench, their bench. Yeah, that's not going to cut it. Koloko, 10 minutes, 0 for 1, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, a +7, though. He was the highest plus minus. So in some ways, Koloko had good things going out there if he wasn't scoring. He played really well, but Nick only played him for 10 minutes. In some ways, I wanted to see more of Jeff and Christian because they were actually having good, successful things happen out there. But no. Chris Boucher was okay, 4 of 10, 1 of 3 from 3. He got that 3 at the very end. 6 rebounds, 1 steal, 3 blocks, and 11 points. So Chris wasn't bad out there at all. I didn't mind him. So yeah, oh man, it's just a tough one. Rorschach saying, I never realized how much zip Malachi has on his passes. That dude has got some jam. Yeah, Malachi is a skilled player, very good, very intelligent player in a lot of ways. We don't give him enough credit. And yeah, I don't know. I go so back and forth with Malachi over the past few years. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, we could get rid of him. And sometimes I'm like, he is kind of valuable in some ways. I feel like after last night, we see value in him again. Isaac saying 3 out of 8 is a half decent line from 3-pointer, but not good for an injury ratio down the stretch of the season. Yeah. If you can get a shootout with the Pacers, you better make your threes too. And that didn't happen. Like Nick said in the press conference after the game, the Raptors were not answering 3-point shots by them. The Pacers would hit threes and we'd try and come down and then we'd miss the 3. So there wasn't like an answer. There was like they hit their 3, we come back down our court and we miss our 3. And then we go down their court, they hit a 3, we go back to our court, we miss our 3. There was a lot of that going on last night, and that really hurt. And Nick was pointing that out as far as things that were kind of screwy. Chris mentioned that the referees were a little screwy last night, but he didn't blame them. But he did say that they were a factor. He did hint that the referees were a factor last night, Chris, and his interview. So that was interesting. Yeah, I'm a little bit because of my yelling and stuff. I have a little bit of a sore throat, a little bit of runny nose just right now, just from like so much yelling. I'm actually surprised how much voice I have right now. Of course, it's deeper and kind of, but yeah, my throat is a little worked out from yelling so much last night. Let's see. This is Mike, Logical Raptors fanatic. Fred VanVleet had to go hero mode in the start of the third till Siakam got going, but we almost won. And someone forgot to tell the Canadians on the Pacers they want to tank. Starting 2 rookies, a tough game. Yeah, I don't think they want to tank. I think they want to compete and play well. And Rick Carlisle wants to see his team just do as well as they can, whether they make the playoffs or not. In some ways, I'm like, listen, we're going to have to look at these next 2 games. Let's see what we do against Washington and Detroit. And that may really signal something weird about what our season's turning into. We talked about this after the game a bit, Tom and Greg and I, and the Saborans. And it was kind of like, if they start losing these games to these easier Eastern Conference opponents, like Detroit on Friday, we lose the game in Detroit on Friday, I'm going to think something's up and something's really weird and that we're losing on purpose. And then in some ways, I don't get it because they do really want postseason games. But why? Why would they do this right now? I don't totally get it. And it does really feel like how it felt going out in Tampa in some ways. Like there's weird losses right now that like kind of feel like the losses we were taking at that time. And I'm really starting to wonder, what are our motives right now? What are our motives? Are we trying to get a very high pick? Are we going for a better pick? Is that why we're losing now, guys? I don't get it. In some ways, I feel like this whole season, y'all have been stealth tanking to a degree. That in some ways, we lost games that we should have normally won, and we would have won in other years the way we usually play. But they've let slip by, and they've been so close. So close. There's this whole stack of losses this year. They're just like that. And I wonder, they add up to so many games. We could be like, 10 games up higher in our standings if some of the bad luck and the bad close games hadn't happened exactly the way they did. yeah, our record would be above 500 already, well above 500, and way up there, like in a higher playoff, in a playoff seed. If these weird close games hadn't gone bad breaks in different ways, really crazy. Let's see. I mean, I know you're telling me these settings, logical Raptors fanatic, and it's like with that kind of stuff going on, the Raptors should have been set up. I wish we could get away with starting 2 rookies and not have these kind of issues. Sue's saying, so unfortunate we lost that one. That was a game we really needed to win. The refs were brutal, especially in the fourth. Yeah, I'm adding Josh Tiven to the list. As far as like refs, I'm really gonna watch, and I don't trust anymore. He's like Zach Zarba. Those two guys are ref hit job artists, but they're on the down low. And he did do a ref hit job last night. There was really bad calls for us and calls that went against us consistently. I saw Nick yelling at him and having a lot of very impassionate conversations with Josh Tiven, number 58. In fact, a lot of the fans were yelling at number 58 last night. A lot of that things are a little fucked up and it's crazy when the fans start the ref you suck chant. That's usually a good indicator that the refs are doing something crazy. And we did get into that chant at a certain point in the fourth quarter last night because there was a lot of like bias calls that were all going against the Raptors, all kinds of crazy stuff. Like I said, there were a couple of out of bounds plays where the ball went off of the Pacers. I saw it with my own damn 2 eyes in person, very close in proximity to where the play happened. And they called it inexplicably out on us, and Indiana got the ball, even though it went off Indiana Pacers' hand. I was like, that was making me so mad. That was the manipulation that I saw that was very blatant to me, was that the ball didn't go out on Indiana at the end line twice, once in the first half and once in the second half. It went off them, and it was supposed to be our ball, but they gave an extra possession, the ball, to Indiana instead. It was really bad, really, really bad. Lion Hunter's here. Good to see Lion Hunter. Always a good, positive Raptor freak, and always has a good take. That charge on Fred was a brutal call. That's 3 points we needed. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then even like the challenge call with TJ McConnell. Come on, man. We know he was sliding over to the right. This guy was not set. When TJ took that charge, that was not a set charge. He was moving. And that is a big swing of things because you take away some offensive scoring from Fred and boom, it's a turnaround offensive foul, goes the other way. That was horrible. And the worst thing about it is we challenged it. They went and looked at it and they still came out with the same outcome. See, that's bullshit to me. It's obvious that he was shuffling his feet still and still moving. He was not set. That we know the rules of how you take an offensive charge because of Kyle Lowry. He taught us this. This is the way it always, we really know what offensive charge and what isn't because we had Kyle Lowry on our team for many years and we saw a lot of it. And that is not an offensive charge because the man was moving. I'm sorry, Josh Tiven. Y'all were crooked last night. It was really weird. There's a picture of Luka this morning, Luka Doncic, doing this to the referees, telling them that you were making money. You're trying to make money. I think that's really funny that Luka's doing that. And I really do question some of the weird things that are going on with these referees. I really, really do. G saying 10 missed free throws is unacceptable. Yeah. And a bulk of that really is Jakob. And like I said, Mike, I wish that you were right. I really do wish you were right. But I was telling the guys at the game, Greg in particular, it's like there's going to be some nights where he will have a 7-for-7 night at the free throw line. And then there's going to be nights like last night where he's going to be like 3-for-10. And man, it really hurt. It really did hurt. But, I hate it. I feel bad for Jakob because in some ways that's not the place we need to put the pressure on him to make a difference for us, is at the free throw line. If we could try and hide that or protect him from that as much as possible, that'd be great. I mean, we want to depend on him and be able to take the shot. Greg was talking a lot about his mechanics last night during the game and like the way he pushes through or something like that, and maybe changing it, that maybe the Raptors can get Jakob to shoot better free throws just by changing his mechanics because he has a weird push through with how he shoots. And I don't know. To me, it's really just concentration. That free throws, that's the thing that matters the most. And in some ways, you can try and shoot one-handed free throws, like Shaq's tried to do at different times. And sometimes you can try different things with like your your setup and how you breathe, and maybe roll the ball, do different things. Like Siakam found a very successful free throw routine that he doesn't always do, and that's why he kind of misses sometimes. But he did have a good one. Like, some people wipe their face, some people like close their eyes and then open their eyes again. There's all kinds of different ones. In some ways, I want Pirtle to just, what it is. It's really he has to have the desire to make those free throws for sure. And it's tough. It really is tough. I feel like the centers have problems with free throws sometimes, like Shaq and Wilt Chamberlain historically, and Pirtle with us now, because their hands are so big. Like, I feel like in some ways, if you have smaller hands, you can shoot free throws easier because you get more of the little on the ball and you can spin more off of it. When you have big, huge hands, sometimes you just don't get the right manipulation with the ball. And I feel like that's part of the problem with some big men in their free throw struggles in the history of the NBA. And that Jakob definitely has this issue. And it's too bad. I hate it so much. I really do. I feel bad for him because he's doing everything else, the dirty work, the physical stuff, the rebounding. We saw him clean up so many garbage shots last night. Thank God Jakob was there to get offensive rebounds and put them back. That he really saved us getting points on a lot of possessions that, a couple months ago when we didn't have a center, they would just be like a turnover or a missed shot, and they get the ball and they're on their way down in transition and getting this basket on us. That having Jakob fighting down there and putting back garbage points yesterday was really carrying us in some ways to keeping up with them, because it was the most consistent thing that we were doing for scoring in the first half was Jakob putting back second chance shots. And this is what they said apparently on the Indiana broadcast. They said the Raptors' best offense is off of the offensive rebounds. And I thought about that, and that's really sad and pathetic in a way. That, our best offense is off of misses and getting them close and putting them back at garbage points. That's horrible. We should have a better offense in certain ways, that it's not we're depending on offensive rebound putbacks to score our points. That's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. Oh my gosh. Wayne's saying, I wish Raptors would show less class sometimes. Lowry night, giving Green ring night, the Canadian player night when playing against us. We don't celebrate players on other teams when playing us. In some ways I've thought about this too, Wayne, and I feel how you feel. It's like sometimes we do put a shine on these guys. Like, it's dumb in some ways. Like the Team Canada eliminations, I get it. But, we will show these guys. Like, we put a spotlight on Luguez Dort the other night when we played the Thunder, and he doesn't care. Like, they're saying, Herbie's like, everybody, welcome, Team Canada, great Canadian, Luguez Dort. No, he's playing us. They're in a timeout. They're winning, and he's in his timeout. He don't give a shit. He's not looking up. He's not going, hey, kudos me. No. He's listening to his coach. He's in the huddle, and he's paying attention. He didn't even acknowledge it. He didn't look up. He didn't wave. He didn't do nothing. And we saw O'Shea Brissett when he was getting his kudos in that way. He smiled and did a little bit of like looking around and saying, yeah, I'm getting a little bit of shine. But it does. I think Wayne's right. In some ways, this bugs me. I mean, I get the former Raptors. I get ring night for Danny Green. I get Kyle Lowry's return. And sure, these Canadian guys are important too, but it does seem like Raptors in-game ops is very much celebrating the opposition a lot and doing stuff like that. In some ways, other teams wouldn't do this kind of stuff. Do you think the Celtics celebrating other players on the other team in any kind of way in their season and different things? No, they're not. And it's just like a special case because we are the only team in Canada in that link. And I get it, but and also sometimes I think you're right, Wayne. It does bug me too. It's almost like, yeah, let's honor and clap for the people that are about to kill us on the court. It's like, yeah, I don't get this either, Wayne. I'm glad you brought this up because this is something that we don't talk about very often. And I do feel like in some ways, sure, we want to honor them and do all this stuff, but maybe we need to pick like not all the time because it does seem like, listen, this is the thing. Do it this way, maybe, Raptors in-game ops. Maybe you don't do the Team Canada stuff every single time they come back because it seems like you guys did this last year too. And it's like every year, maybe these Canadian guys are like, yeah, I'm Jamal Murray. Okay, I play for Denver. Yeah, all right. But you do every year? Are we going to do this every time the Nuggets come to Toronto and play us? Then we're going to announce Jamal Murray and say, Team Canada's Jamal Murray. Everybody clap for him. Can we do it just maybe once every like for a player once and never do it again? Because it seems like every year we do it for all the Team Canada people every single time. And I'm sick of it. I think you're right in a way, Wayne. In some ways, we need to celebrate the uptick of Canadians coming into the league. But listen, we have the second most players in the league after the Americans now. And how many times are we going to have to honor Canadians? It's going to get to the point they're so common in the league. It's going to be so stupid if you're going to honor Canadians over and over again in every single game. It's like, well, listen, we have like 50 Canadians in the league now. It's going to be every team's going to have a Canadian on it. And we're going to have to do a Team Canada celebration for every single one of them. I mean, seriously, we got to think about this. The growth of Canada basketball is exponential. There's going to be more and more kids coming up. You know, the Vince Carter effect had a boom later on, an effect a couple of years later. Well, that championship that we got in 2019, we got to see what the boom is going to be with the young kids coming up from that. And all of a sudden, there'll be Canadian on every team, like I said. And then we're going to have to give shine to every one of them. That's what we got to start thinking about this. Teresa Resch and other people that are involved with the Raptors. I mean, I love honoring the Canadians, but maybe we do it all in one shot and in one game or something like that. Or maybe we do it with Nick Nurse or something. I don't know. I don't know how you should do it, but it does seem like there's too much of this, Wayne. I think you're right. Nako saying, I caught that look O'Shea gave Pirtle. Dude looked pissed. This was really interesting because Greg was confused that when the technical was called in the game, there's only one tech last night. He thought that the tech was on us, but it was actually on Brissett. In that moment, yeah, you were close up and you saw what happened there. Yeah, that was interesting that Brissett got the technical in that moment. That was very interesting. Trevor's saying they got us last night. We were shorthanded and the referee's latest to the referee's latest hit job in some ways. There definitely was a bit of a hit job by Tibbin and Bookert. Goldenberg, a little bit of funny stuff, but not really. It was more Tibbin very much spearheading it and leading it, with Booker kind of supporting him with some of his calls being very fishy. But yeah, I agree with this. We shorthanded referees, but then ultimately the most important thing, the team played like shit, and that is why we lost. Monique is saying, good seeing everyone. Standings watch. Bulls got smacked. T-Wolves beat the Hawks. Thank you. That's the great thing. Even though we lost, everybody else lost too. So it really is like the standings didn't really matter. Obviously, Indiana came up a little bit, but for the most part, yeah, everybody lost. And this could be worse. This could be a lot worse. So in some ways, we're holding pat. Now, this is the thing. We're not going to catch up with Miami Heat. So getting the 7th seed and the the play-in home court advantage and the top play-in part is just not going to happen. So the best possible outcome at this point is overtaking Atlanta, and that means having a better record than them by the end of the season and getting in that 8th spot and playing in that play-in game in Miami against the Heat. Oh, wait, they're actually tied with Brooklyn. So there could be a flip around where it's actually the Nets against in the 7th spot, and Miami gets a full playoff spot actually in the end. So we'll have to pay attention to that, because I just realized they're actually tied at this point, 13 games back of the division, the conference leading Milwaukee Bucks. So man, at least nobody really got ground on us because everybody lost last night. Yeah, Joseph Stark saying, good morning, Alex. After watching last night's game and with around 10 games left, I'm thinking, what does this team need? Thoughts? I think we need to play our players. If these guys are kind of hurt or something like that, there's no tomorrow. We need to do or die. We need to go now, because in some ways, maybe they figured out, all right, well, if we're this place or we're just in the play-in. I mean, I feel like it's important to get to the 8th seed. I don't think being in 9th or 10th is very good, because that means you got to win 2 play-in games. I don't know. I think the 8th seed is the better place to be. But, man, that's what I want. I think they need the 8th seed is what they need, Joseph Starks. But good to see you here in the chat. And Tommy and everybody says, oh, man, Joseph Starks, it's so cool to meet you at the open practice. Tom was telling me about, all kinds of different stuff about out west, and what you guys, your lifestyle out west is a little bit different than the city life in the 416. I really want to come check it out. So I'll let you know, Joseph Starks, if I make it out west, I'm definitely going to want to meet up with you and Shane and Tom and have a little get together out in the West Coast, because I am seriously considering making a trip out to see you guys, because I've always wanted to see British Columbia. And Tom was describing where his neck of woods and how it is. And I was just, this sounds so appealing to me right now. So yeah, I'm gonna have to see what's going on out there. You may see me on your coast soon. So maybe this summer we'll have to see. Mike's saying, Nako, I thought you were the guy with the glasses for a sec. Not gonna lie, the one beside the big guy courtside. I don't know how you look. Well, I don't know how much hair Nako's got right now, but usually Nako's had very big hairstyles in the past. But I don't know how his hair looks right now. I think he's been cutting it shorter these days. But yeah, Knockout, man, I really feel bad that we didn't link up with you yesterday. Infamous is saying the haters are trying to put this loss on Fred when we were missing key players and the team didn't shoot well. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we know what their playbook is. We know what they're going to say. And we know that we exist in some ways to counterbalance their bullshit and stupidity and just like always blanketly just coming after Fred. In some ways, I do blame him for not making any shots late. But in some ways, listen, it was all staff needed and necessary there and doing their best in the situation. Click saying, I think I'm going to watch the Pacers the rest of the way, looking like a fun team with great Canadians hooping. There you go, Click. Listen, I do not get upset with you guys. If you want to deal with our losing and how the team's going, it's not this thing where you guys just have to torture yourselves all the way through. If you want to get behind the Pacers now, that's fine. They're not in it still, though, Click. They are still behind us a good bit and 2 full games. And I don't know if I don't know what they're doing. In some ways, Indiana fans were telling us before the game, like Mike said, that they don't care. They don't want to win right now because they are trying to get a better tank position. And I'm surprised that the effort and the way they play with such gumption, overmatched our gumption in this situation as far as what's on the table for them going forward and what's on the table for us. That's why I'm so disappointed in some ways. We're really in the thick of it, and we have like a real stake in the playing right now. They don't. And in some ways, they should be actually maybe like not trying to win right now. They should be doing what we just did in some ways. It's annoying. It's very annoying. Isaac's saying the challenge was brutal. The defender lifted his leg and had no established position. It's bad to hold up an offensive foul that fundamentally would fail the most basic test. Video replay is dead. I mean, what's the point? It's so stupid at this point. Like, you guys can get it wrong with the call initially and go watch the replay and still get it wrong watching it there. I'm sorry. That was not an offensive charge. TJ McConnell was the foul, and you did not get that one right, Josh Tiven. Let's see. Wayne saying, this is lost on us. Poor shooting overall. Kindly understand. I love Mathurin's game, but not against us. I'm salivating. Canada playing it in the Worlds. Is there a world championship in Canada's future? This was a lot of what people were talking about after the game, whether it was on Sportsnet or on Raptors Tonight, about the future of Canada basketball and how good we could be. And people speculating, what are our chances for success in different places, whether it's at a tournament this summer or the Olympics coming up. The Olympics, the next Olympic cycle. The Canada, we qualify for the Olympics and we get to the Olympics. We could very much be a new force, a new kid on the block that's kind of has the same kind of like swagger and dangerousness to it, like the Team USA does. That in some ways our talent, it's not exactly right at the same level, but in some ways it's very competitive with it. And that if we get the absolute creme de la creme of Canadian players that are playing the NBA, yeah, we could play with anybody and we could beat them. So the future is super bright for Canadian basketball and what we're doing here. It's so true. I mean, these guys are badasses like Mathurin and Murray and SGA and all. We have a lot of different Canadian players that are very good at this point. So I'm excited, and I think that we will do very well. And this is a topic that we're going to cover more and more on this channel is international play for the Canadian team. That with the ties with some of our players and Nick Nurse, obviously this very much bleeds over into Raptor related content. So we will definitely be covering these kind of things this summer. We did a lot of it last year when Delano and the team was down in South America in that tournament there. We were covering it then. So this summer also, even when the season's over and there's Team Canada stuff going on, we will be on top of it here on the Raptor Freak channel. So look forward to that, Wayne. I'm looking forward to it too, seeing more Canada basketball. Mike is saying David's Boucher jersey is fire. Great jerseys on everyone and super fan Mo. That's a sweet picture. And meeting the Raptors people is cool as fuck. Sounded like a great time beside the game itself. Yeah, it was. It was honestly really funny, Mike. It was ridiculous. Honestly, the laughs, the comedy, the stories that we all told, the backgrounds we come from, just the fun of being in the camaraderie of everybody together. It's just such a cool, like it's such an interesting group, and like we're such interesting personalities. A lot of us, so very very like cool. Yeah, I love David's jersey too. He tried to get our Scotty's jerseys signed. He had a really nice red Scotty jersey. Tom was wearing his black Scotty jersey. I was wearing my red Scotty jersey, and David was really really aggressive in trying to get past the ushers and security to get over to the entryway to try and get these jerseys signed for us. But he could not finagle his way past them, and they did keep him out. Very, very good work by the ACC Scotiabank staff. And yeah, it's too bad, but it was really fun. We were very close to the court, and they could hear us. We were yelling, and they could definitely hear us on the bench from where we were yelling from. I kept trying to get Scott's attention, but he was very focused on the game and talking to Gary and Precious at the end of the bench. Let's see. Jimmy's saying we lost the game in the first quarter. Yeah, I'll agree with that. Pascal needs to set the tempo. Dude can't score two in the first quarter. Yeah, in some ways, like we need to break that seal. I always talk about this, that we need to get a high percentage easy shot and work a system or a play that actually like garners it. And it seems like in some ways we're just kind of like going half-assed in the game. It's like, yeah, just do this, but we're not really trying to execute and with precision and absolutely make the shots to open the game. This is important because in some ways it's like a gun shooting at the starting line. And one team will start running. And you don't want to be the tortoise or the hare. You want to be the hare usually because it's faster. And if you're running off that start line and the other team's like, and they were because they were hitting everything, and we're like the slow poke trying to come up behind them. Yeah, this doesn't work very well. You got to get a good start. You can't come out flat. And they did blame this. They were saying, yeah, we came out flat. We didn't come out with the same energy as they did. And they beat our ass right away. And that's too bad. MSJ saying you could say it was rough loss. The rotations were weird. I know when I saw Will Barton in the starting lineup, I was like, wait, what the why is Will Barton starting? And then it's like, wait, I'm trying to add, well, what Scotty's not starting. He's going to start for Scotty. But wait, I thought Gary was going to start for Scotty. That's what Nick said in the practice interview yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, the day before the game. He said he was going to start Gary. You said you were going to start Gary on Tuesday, Nick. And then on Wednesday, you didn't start him. And it's like, oh, well, he's hurt. That's why he didn't start. Okay. All right. Well, then who's going to start instead? All right. Will Barton. Does that make any sense? Has he contributed anything substantial to us in a good way since he's been with us? No, he has not. So I'm like, why? Why do you do this? The next man up, if there's next man up mentality, was Chris Boucher. He deserved to get the start last night instead. And maybe we would have played way better with Boucher in the starting lineup in some ways. I don't know. Last night, such a weird night, a night of bittersweet, really sweet and awesome. The camaraderie and the get together and the Team Canada stuff, but really not for the Raptors. Not for the Raptors. Nako saying, I'm probably done going to games for this year. I kind of look like Napoleon Dynamite. Okay, so Nako's looking like Napoleon Dynamite these days. That makes about sense. He's probably got a little mid fro right now. He doesn't have the full fro, but he's got a pretty good little fro, probably. I kind of look like Napoleon Dynamite. Still hoping I can catch y'all at a game sometime. I think this is more taboo than Tampa. Oh, taboo. You mean like, what do you mean by taboo? Like unspoken? I don't know. That's a weird word for that. You think this is worse? Is that what you mean by that? Ah, man, this sucks. Like, honestly, seriously, we're not doing a stealth tank, are we, Masai? Is this what's going on here? Like, you guys are making really weird personnel decisions. Seriously. G's saying one or more of Shea, Jamal, Barrett, Nemhard, Mathurin will one day be a Raptor. They love playing in Scotiabank, throwing it out there. I hope this is true, G. I mean, it would be great for our team. In some ways, it'd be great for these young men. But I don't know if that's totally true. In some ways, we've talked about this recently that the very, very good Canadian players may not want to play here because they put so much pressure on themselves. We talk about, listen, once again, after the game last night, there was a huge contingency of fans that lurked around the arena after the game to wait and see Andrew Nebhart and Ben Mathurin and visit with them. And in some ways, those are a distraction. We talked about the pitfalls of playing for your own hometown team or playing in this kind of situation. It could be more of a distraction. In some ways, SGA may be a better player for Oklahoma City because he's out in the middle of nowhere and playing for that team than he would be here in Toronto with all the distractions and some of the pressure that he might feel from it too. But I think you're right. I think that somebody will be like that. Maybe it's kind of like Maple Leaf wanting to come home and play for Toronto because they're from Toronto and they grew up that way. It may be these guys, like SGA said, I was a Raptors fan when I was a kid. I love the Raptors so much. I have to come back and fulfill my dream. It could be like that, very much like a Maple Leaf coming home and wanting to play here. But right now, we have to see. We have to see. I don't believe that this, this is just a slam dunk because in some ways, these guys know that the added pressure of playing for your hometown and it's not attractive. Shane saying there was nothing wrong with this team. This team is a true team. Without all of the team's pieces, you can't be consistent, especially in today's NBA. Teams live and die by the three ball every night. Yeah, especially this year. We don't have three ball firepower, and the Pacers are one of the best teams with three ball firepower. They didn't even use their best three ball shooter, Buddy Hield. And, Halliburton, well, he's out there. He's pretty good at threes too. And that sucks. In some ways, this is where we got to retool and upgrade and get better and improve this summer. We need better 3-point shooting overall because that's the way the league is going. Yeah, I like that they stuck together. And I like, there's some things that are weird about around the team right now that I'm kind of reading through the lines and I don't like. But I don't really want to talk about them right now because in some ways, they're not helpful. And they may be just pure speculation. So I'm not even going to put them out there. But there are some things that are kind of bugging me on the down low, just so y'all know. Let's see. Yeah, I love your comment, Shane. And listen, man, I appreciate you so much. I know you had your birthday recently, and I hope you had just a fantastic time. Tom was telling me all about like hanging out with you guys out west, you and Joseph, and just it was really cool to meet him in person. And I know you've met him in person. You know what a great guy Tom is. And he was really representing you guys so well out there. And like I said to Joseph earlier, I'm going to try and get out west myself and visit you guys over there so that I can come and see y'all's side of things. And I'll definitely make it a priority to link up with Joseph Starks, Shane Waters, if I come out there for sure. Smooth's here. Good to see Smooth Brown, man. This was a disappointing effort. The Canadians on the Pacers roster played with serious moxie. Toronto had no answers, just really bad. I know, man. It's crazy. I mean, look, these dudes look like pros. They don't look like rookies. You think Andrew Nebhart looks like a rookie last night? No. Do you think that Ben Mathurin looked like a rookie? No. Do you think that they were scared to play in front of the home crowd in Toronto and be out there in front of Canadian fans? No, they very much relished it and got up for it. They were fantastic. Let me look at their stats real quick. Nebhart, 11 of 17 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 2 rebounds, 10 assists, 25 points, a double-double, +8 overall. Mathurin, he didn't score as much, but 3 for 5, 3 for 3 from 3, 6 for 6 from free throws. He could talk that smack at the free throw line because he backed it up on his end. And I don't know what he said to Jakob, but I bet he said something like, "You're going to miss these. You're going to miss these. I know you're going to miss these." And he got in his head and in his face for a second. I really didn't like seeing that because I really love Jakob. But I was like, I got to admire the moxie as Smooth saying here. The moxie shown by these young Canadians on the Pacers was crazy. 15 points for Mathurin, 1 block, 1 steal, 2 rebounds, +6. Yeah, they were a big, big factor. If I look at other guys on that side that really hurt us, Miles Turner was a big factor too. 6 and 9, 16 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block. It felt like I said, he was outplaying Pirtle in a way at different times last night. Brissett, solid contributions in different ways. Buddy Hield, very understated, but he did get a couple baskets that were important. Nwara, very annoying off the bench. Neesmith did some things. TJ McConnell, of course, being annoying. As Nick put it, he was hitting them all early and then he started missing them later. And he was okay with it when he was missing them later. Yeah, Toronto had no answers. And why? Why didn't you have any answers for Rick Carlisle? Rick Carlisle outcoached you last night, bro. I'm sorry. That's just the damn truth. Rick Carlisle, Jim Carrey lookalike Rick Carlisle, outcoached you. Apparently, Rick Carlisle, and after the game, was enjoying some of the artifacts of the Scotiabank Arena. There's a picture there. I'm not sure if it's Foster Hewitt or somebody, some old Leaf person, sitting with their feet up on the desk with the Stanley Cup, smoking a cigar. And on the board, it says no practice today. And apparently, according to Aaron Rose, Rick Carlisle really liked this picture. And he was going on about it in his press conference yesterday. I really like this picture of the Stanley Cup. And this guy's saying no practice tomorrow. I love it. He had the champagne glass, I think he was drinking. And that was kind of a little fun fact about Rick Carlisle, enjoying that. Let's see. Monique is saying, thanks for the real sports stories. Post-game interviews were interesting to me. Monique, I'm telling you, if you look real closely behind Randy, in between Randy and Alvin Williams, over his shoulder, you will see me in the background lurking in the real sports bar behind the Raptors Tonight telecast last night. So the Raptors, we were there when they were taping it. We were sitting in a table behind them in the back. And in some ways, we should have probably got the question because you guys were all freaked out. Like if I had showed up on there and I got the question in, like, or Greg, Ghubbstown Clink, you guys would have been like, hey, it's the Clink. He's on Raptors Tonight. But if anything, Randy knows about us now. And maybe he'll check us out on our channels. He's going to go check out Greg's YouTube and my YouTube, apparently, is what he said to us. So who knows? I told him that you're a regular on here, Monique. He said, oh, Monique's on your channel? He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh. And it's like, in some ways, I got instant credibility with Randy when I told him that superfan Monique Lawrence is one of our very best regulars on this channel. So he's like, I'll definitely come and check it out. So Monique, you may expect to be seeing Randy Urban in this chat with us at some point. That's what he said he wanted to do. So that'll be interesting. Isaac saying, facts, Shane. I just wish our bench gave more defensive intensity night in and night out. Starters needed a lift. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, with these many guys out, we don't have a bench already with everybody available. Well, we really don't have a bench in some ways. I was kind of hoping that they'd play Ron Harper last night, honestly, because in some ways he really deserved to get a chance, just partly because, he got a triple double the night before, and he was on a cloud nine. And in some ways, you want to get that inertia of confidence and things. That's why I don't get their reasoning, or are they paying attention to everything going on all around the franchise? Like, is there a disconnect between the 905 and the Raptors main roster where they don't understand? Look, Ron Harper just did a triple double last night, Nick Nurse. Maybe you need to get him into the game and let him play with these youngsters out there. Maybe he does some good things for you. No, why wouldn't you? You could have played Ron Harper last night, and it would have been very interesting to see how much he could contribute. And then the other one that I didn't like either was Thad. Thad I don't always want him to play Thad, but I think last night he messed up when he didn't play Thad. In some ways, he is very good with Indiana Pacers. In some ways, he's a good matchup with Miles Turner. And I'm like, why are you not playing Thad Young tonight? We have a lot of guys missing. And in some ways, he's the guy maybe you needed to go to. So, yeah, I do not agree with a lot of the decisions by Nick Nurse with who he was putting in and who, where, and why, and how many minutes and what. It really was not good. Very bad. As above, so below. Yeah, baby. Okay. Yeah, baby. Yeah, that Mike Myers. Yeah. Somebody was asking me, what's your favorite Mike Myers movie last night? I think that was Tom Duke asking me that last night. I was like trying to think about it. It's like, so I married an axe murderer? No. Is it Wayne's World? Not really. And it's like, you know what? I think the Austin Powers movies are pretty funny to me. But I ultimately decided my favorite Mike Myers stuff is his TV work on Saturday Night Live. I like his sketch work actually on Saturday Night Live. And then, he's a child actor. I don't know if people know this about Mike Myers, but in Canadian television, he was appearing on TV as a very young kid. in all kinds of different weird shows. There's like an old clip of a show that he was on as a little kid with John Candy, and it's very kind of cool. And like, so there's, I don't know, Mike Myers on TV is better to me than movies, I guess. That's what my answer would be. Let's see, Jimmy's saying, and I'm confused how can our rotations be weird when we're missing 3 key rotation players? We were forced to play Malachi big minutes. I have no rhyme or reason to this. Like, seriously, without being at home for yesterday and knowing the build up to the game and hearing on the chatter on Twitter from Lewinberg and Grange about why these guys are sitting out, it was such a mystery to me. And I've had this happen to me a couple times this season where I come down to the game, I don't know the injury report at the last minute before the game, and I see guys get sit out, and I'm like, why are these guys sitting out? And I'm like, what is going on? Because there's no like apparent injury, or they talk about injuries for these guys ahead of time. So there's a warning. No, we had no idea that Gary and Precious would not be playing last night. And that was really weird to me in some ways. It's very weird. Jody's here. Good to see Jody White once again. A great addition to the chat always. Jody White, we love to see you. Like you say, love the swagger of Mathurin and why we need guys like him, Brooks, Barrett, and Dort on Canada. Tired of being considered nice. Get her done at World Cup. Play with a chip on their shoulders. Yes. That list, when you list it like that, Jody, that is a murderer's row of confidence and swagger that I'm just like, yeah, you start talking about Ben Mathurin and Dylan Brooks and Lou Dort, SGA, RJ Barrett. Yeah, these dudes are killers on the court. And these guys are really, really good at scoring and doing a lot of good things. So I am very excited about the promise for Team Canada in the next few years and to come in the future. I hope that we rise up and we really do become a power in basketball internationally, globally, that we become like the States, and that we're really kind of like one of those teams that everybody fears and they don't like playing Canada, and that we do medal all the time, that we are like the States. You might as well, if you're having a competition and the States and us are in there, you better pencil in Canada and the States to medal and get 2 of those 3 medals. That's how I want us to be in the next few years. And having a great coach like Nick Nurse and great people in charge of the Team Canada, I think we can finally break through and get that happening. I'm so here for it. And if we're going to have a bad Raptors team, we'll focus on the goodness and the positive things with Team Canada. Smooth saying JP really has to improve his free throws. I know I'm stating the obvious. It's got to be a priority. Yeah, I agree. But in some ways, it's like, what can we actually do? In some ways, it's like, Shaq would have improved his free throws at some point during his career if he could have, you think, right? I mean, they had one coach on the team for times when he was in his career that only worked on Shaq and his free throws. They had one guy, the only person on that's the only thing he had his duty was to help him shoot better free throws. And it never really happened. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's just not something people have. And it's too bad. I know that he has a will and he wants to. And I'm sure that if he really concentrates, maybe he can figure something out. But in some ways, we saw the worst of it last night and how it can very much hurt us. G saying, I think Malachi should have started younger legs to match their young legs. Yeah, in some ways, I get like playing a guard lineup or a more guard kind of lineup because they're a very guard oriented team. In some ways, that would have made more sense to me than starting Barton. Yeah. Or I would have said if they had started Jeff Dowden Jr., that I wouldn't have batted an eye at that. I was like, this makes sense. He's been a leader at 905 all year. He's done very well. He's played really well with our guys all season. It's not like he's like not gelling with everybody like Barton isn't. He's not gelling right with everybody. But Dowden has already proven to be gelling all right already. Yeah, so many questions. So many mysteries, so much misunderstanding about what the fuck happened last night. I totally have so many questions in some ways. All right, let's keep going with the chat and we will get through the comments and continue to react to this game last night. All right, let me see. Who is next? Who is next on here? We had Jody and then we had, a jump. And I want to make sure I get back to the right spot. I see Lux is here. All right, good stuff. Oh, Guardian Transit. Good to see Guardian Transit. Okay, here we go. This is where we are. MSJ saying, I hear that Victor dude is kind of good. uh, but it was very odd last night. It was like the Raps had no interest in winning, and NBA players should hit open threes. I can hit 3 of 10 from a high school 3-point line. See, maybe we need MSJ out there. Seriously. No, that's true. What you said in your comment here that strikes me, MSJ, is says, it seems like the Raptors had no interest in winning last night. Because this is how it felt at the end of Tampa. They didn't have any interest in winning. They sat Kyle for the end of his Raptors career. He missed out on playing the last few games he could have played for us because, he was on his way out. The season was crap and it was whatever. We got robbed from more Kyle Lowry at the very end of his last season with us, partially because they didn't want to win. They weren't trying to. So that's why I'm like, Precious, Gary, and Scotty are out. Did you want to win last night, Raptors? Did you think because the other side you saw Halliburton and Duarte on the out with them that we can get away with this is equal? Are you doing like a scale from a high school science class where you're putting weight on this side? That's Halliburton and that's Duarte. Well, let's put Scott here. Let's put Precious. Oh wait, no, Precious is not enough. We got to put Gary too. Let's put them both on here. Oh, is that way out that it'll be even going the? I don't understand. That's not even. Those are 3 guys. That's 2. Ah, man, I don't get it. I really don't get it, MSJ. And you're right. Are these guys like not hitting shots on purpose for some reason? Are they like Masai's like, listen, make it look good. Try and play good for the fans, entertainment. But in the last 5 minutes of the game, go cold. I don't know. That could be. There's a lot of weird close games that we just like all of a sudden just not hit anything and we don't make shots. And I'm like, what is going on here? What is going on here? Lux is saying, William Lou said he watched Precious and Gary go through warm-ups yesterday and thought they looked fine. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. That's what I'm saying. I don't think these guys are hurt. If they're hurt, they maybe not hurt enough to be actually out. There's too much Brian Windersting going on today where I need to figure things out and go, this means this, and this makes me think this. And that's what I'm saying. There's some underlying things that I don't like reading between the lines right now. G's saying 7 and 22 for Fred, but he was being fouled to affect the shooting, hence the 12 free throws. When you make the adjustment, he shot closer to 50%. Okay, that makes sense. I like that I like that G is standing up for Fred as usual. And once again, I'm not really that mad at Fred. In fact, he was one of the only good things going for us last night. Kareem saying, I get Scotty not playing with a lingering thumb pain, but Gary has a sore elbow. Precious played like 10 minutes in the last 2 weeks. What the fuck can possibly be hurting him? I know. Kareem. You know what? Let's call them. You know what? We're going to do that real quick. Hello, Masai. Masai? Hello, is this Masai? Oh, Dan Tolzman. Oh, hi, Dan Tolzman. Sorry, I thought this was Masai's number. Listen, I know you were on Raptors Tonight recently. I really appreciate your open and frank conversation with Randy and the guys on Raptors Tonight the other night. You really illuminated some cool things about what you guys look for in the front office and the young player and just really cool stuff. I really appreciate all that stuff. But listen, I just have a question. Did you guys hold guys out on the game last night to purposely lose? Because the fans are wondering, like, seriously, we were like, these injuries to Gary and Precious are mysterious to us. Oh, yeah? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, listen, we just want to know, are we trying to win or not? I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on. Okay. All right. All right. We'll give all my best. The Raptors Freaks crew all says all their best. Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, Dan Tolzman, Teresa Resch, the whole front office of the Raptors. We love you all and keep on keeping on. We trust you and we love you. And we trust in Masai. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Tolzman. Have a great day. Yeah, he basically said, like, listen, they had some nagging injuries and they decided to sit them. This is what they're putting out publicly. Maybe McKechnie came to them and said, oh, this elbow, Gary, it's not Maybe you need to rest it for tonight. I don't know. That's why I'm windbursting this morning, Kareem. I hate this. I hate this so much. Isaac Campbell is saying, yes, G, and Pirtle was 10 for 12 for field goals. Can't blame him. Yeah, but there's flaws in their games. There's flaws in all the big three stars of the game for the Raptors last night. Pascal got off late and made up late for not a good start. Fred had a pretty good start, played pretty well, but then disappeared at the end. And then Pirtle's inefficiency at the free throw line. All three of these things hurt us. And in some ways, it's like, look, they were the best thing we had going last night, but also they weren't perfect and they weren't as good as they could have been, is what I'm saying. G saying, if they are stealth tanking, Masai has his eye on someone like he did Scotty. He's probably not their prospect peoples are thinking. When I saw them all sitting, couldn't help but think this. Yeah, I was wondering about this too. This is such a weird thing. I wasn't expecting this. I really did expect an easy win for the Raptors with some pride. I mean, in some ways, like Nick, did you not come to the guys and tell them this team's beaten you 2 games already this season, and y'all need to not get swept by them? I cannot remember the last time the Indiana Pacers swept us in a season series like this year. This is insane, and it really is indicative of Mathurin and Nembhard and the new look Pacers that have changed since the big trade with Sacramento in the last year or so. This is crazy. Because in some ways, we look at them as a slouch. We look at their record right now, even they're like, this is the Pacers. We usually just beat the hell out of them. We had a speaker fire last season where there was a huge delay and everybody got cold again. And we still came out and kicked their ass all over again in that game. So it's like, I don't understand this, Raptors. You guys own the Pacers. Well, you don't this year. They own us. They definitely own us. And specifically, the Canadian guys on that team own us. Yeah, they do. Let's see. Smooth saying, most of us are remembering Barton from the Denver Nuggets. Maybe he might find some of that player in the next 9 games, hopefully. This is what we can all cross our fingers and hope and pray, Smooth. Like, this is what we bought. We bought him on the promise of he's a veteran. He's a skilled player. He can fill up the hoop. He can shoot threes. He's an adequate backup point guard that can show leadership in a vet way. And he can make baskets. That's the whole thing. The number one thing I wanted from him is he's supposed to be that roll off the bench that is a hooper. They can get out there and just fill up the basket, kind of like Gary to a certain extent, but not on the same level. But somebody that come out and just add another gun to add more to carry with offense and to help us get our point total up to compete with the high scoring NBA that is today. But he has not delivered on this at all. His shooting percentage is horrible since he came onto the Raptors. And in some ways, any other intangibles that he gives us on the court are just not good enough if he's not making shots. And that's the thing that's really disappointing about him. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. I do wish him well, and I hope he does figure it out still. But I don't know. How many chances do we keep giving him? Sending him out there and giving minutes like we did last night in some ways that hurt us. Well, maybe we need to go back to Malachi at this point. Guardian saying at MSJ, you might be able to hit 3 of 10 from 3-point line standing there. But if you're running up and down, you're probably not because you're winded. Now, this is a good point by Guardian Transit, but we don't know also what kind of level of athletics MSJ is capable of. It could be very well that this is someone who runs a lot and is in top shape, and that this wouldn't be a problem still. But this is true. This is a good way of putting it, Guardian Transit. Well, part of it is the effort. And the other thing that NBA players will always tell people is like, look, you could have played really good in high school, small time, small crowd, less lights. But when you get to the NBA, the bright lights are there. Everybody's watching you. The scrutiny is so intense that everything about being an NBA player, you can ask Malachi Flynn or other players on the team, is analyzed, over scrutinized. And that is part of the pressure of being able to do what they do on the court that makes it so much harder than it's just like as simple as I could shoot this in a gym by myself like this. You don't understand that intensity of all of that as far as on top of it. It's real easy to say, we could do this. But I think that when you think about everything that's involved in being an NBA player, having like 20,000 people around you yelling and screaming and very much all focused on you, yeah, you better be okay with not shy and being like totally scrutinized from every single angle all around you all at once. And then think about it on the road against road crowds and the people don't like you. And then think about how difficult that is too. Mike's saying it was the shooting needed on the starters and trying to hold Boucher for the bench. So I don't know. It was a long shot with Will starting. Barton is supposed to be playing with Scotty, and now Scotty's out. Yeah, I don't know, Mike. Listen, we need to get something out of him or nothing. I mean, this has been, in some ways, him and Otto Porter have been big, huge fails this season as far as not contributing in ways that we needed from them. And they're kind of the same person that should have been doing certain same thing for us in some ways. Lux is saying no one. No one. Yikes. Kareem's saying, I'm questioning this team's heart outside of Fred, Pascal, and Scotty. Most pivotal point in the season, and guys can't take a freaking Advil and hit the court. Suck it up, Buttercup. There you go, Kareem Thomas. That's moxie. Just like those young Canadian rookies on the Indiana Pacers. That's some moxie there shown by Kareem Thomas in his comment. I like that. I like that, Kareem. And I won't get mad at you. I like that you're putting a little ad for Advil in the middle there. And the hashtag suck it up, Buttercup. You know what? Am I giving a dunk? I don't know. It's not like a positive comment. I mean, it's a great comment, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's rightful for today, but in some ways, I don't feel like celebrating or giving a dunk in this situation. Maybe that's how I feel. A Canadian saying, "I think this shows how much Scotty means." Lex, Scotty, you may be right. In some ways, the lack of Scotty is but I think it's also those other two guys too. That Gary in some ways is so important as a relief valve for our offense. Like if we have nobody going, at least we can know that Gary will find some sort of way to usually score unless he's absolutely horrible. But often he's more than not, he's getting us buckets and keeping carrying water in very tough times. They talked about there are stretches where we had field goal droughts once again, where we couldn't hit a damn basket for like minutes, for like 3 to 5 minutes of a game. And that's really bad. That's really, really bad. And Gary fixes that. But I think you're right, Bradley. I think that Scotty's role and what he does on this team is kind of understated. And people don't realize. They look at his stat line and they think, oh, this guy's your rookie of the year. This is the guy everybody thinks so great. Well, there's so many other things he's doing that have nothing to do with numbers on a sheet. They have to do with things on the court that are really like unspoken kind of stats that just don't get counted, things that happen in some ways. MSJ Santa Guardian, no, I never got winded as a player. I could hit the three, thank you, and then hit them from the NBA line. My point is I suck compared to a Raps player, and they should shoot better. Yeah, I mean, I get what MSJ's saying. Like in some ways, these guys shoot threes. Will Barton, you had open threes. Why are you not making them, bro? Oh my gosh, it's just make them, please. And I'll bet MSJ's a very good basketball player. I bet you they are. Wayne's saying there was some bad calls, especially when tied at 92. That call was specious. Specious? I don't know. Maybe that's a pretty cool word. Back to my point of being petty. Canadian kids want to have a good game because your parents are here. I'm spoiling it. Yeah, I'm. You know what? That's also true. Like in some ways, like listen, in some ways we're too nice. Michael Jordan may get insulted when the Bulls are like putting shine on the other team's players in the middle of the game and giving them like a little like let's clap for this person. Like Michael Jordan probably hate that. He's like, they just fucking clap for the Pistons on the other side of the court. No, dog. I'm coming out there and killing them now. Like Michael would be like that. He would be like that. Can we have a little bit of like that? Mike, can you be like Mike? Can you be like Mike, Fred? You got that 23 on you and have that attitude. In some ways he did after the game. He was very much prickly about it. He's like, yeah, I don't give a shit about this Team Canada stuff. They killed us. Yeah, I'm not real. I'm impressed with them, sure, and great for Canada, but it's not great for me and it's not great for the Raptors tonight because we lost because of this. And in some ways, yeah, you guys, the interviewers, want to be so happy. You Canadian stuff. In some ways, it's like, I don't give a shit about that. I care about the Raptors. So in some ways, he was kind of like that, but after the game. And he didn't let his play speak for that in that kind of way. But yeah, I think that would have been a fun way to frame the game for somebody like Fred and Pascal. But Pascal doesn't have his mind. He's too nice. Andrew's mother is here. Andrew Nebhardt's mother's here and all his aunts and uncles and his friends. I want to ruin this party. I want him to not have a happy win W because they really did want it, the Pacers. And I want to stop all those good feelings. Well, where was that, Raptors? Where was you crashing the party and ruining it by peeing all over the cake? Nah, you didn't do that. You let them have the party right in the middle of your court. Just like Dylan Brooks comes into Toronto and says, "This is my house." And y'all don't do jack shit to stop him from taking over the house and the deed. Yeah, you're letting people having birthday parties and fun get-togethers, reunions, Canadian reunions on our court, all warm, fuzzy feeling. I'm glad we beat SGA in Oklahoma on that day because then that was how it should have went. Like it should have went like that last night and ruined the warm, fuzzy feelings that Wayne is describing here. Yeah, Leslie saying good morning. I think we underestimated how many family members would have been at the game for the Canadian Pacers players. Yeah. Yeah. There really were a lot. A lot. I saw the picture of all of them after the game. Very comparable to SGA's crowd when he was here last week. Yeah. Good to see you, Leslie. And I hope you're having a good morning. As above, so below. Creating a starter role for Barton takes away from his strength from his strength, a bench motivator, and a filling in for that 37 seconds at the end of the quarter. I think that is true. I just thought it was a miscue. It was a really poor personnel choice in some ways. Why did you do that, Nick? I just don't get it. I really don't get it. Good to see you again, as above, so below. Pretty cool name. Smooth saying, love the old school jerseys in the background. Wish we had a JYD on our team right now. I know we kind of do in a way, but not exactly. It's kind of like our whole team mentality is kind of JYD in some ways. It's kind of like that. I was telling Alvin about these jerseys last night. I said, Alvin, I've got your jersey on my wall that you signed for me many years ago, like 10 years ago. He signed this jersey for me. And I said, I've got you on the wall with two other Raptors from your time. Those jerseys are signed also. I've got you on the wall with Muggsy and JYD. And he said, oh, Muggsy's in town right now. And he started telling me that he just saw him earlier in the day. So Muggsy's actually in Toronto right now, apparently, as Alvin told me. So, yeah, that was kind of a cool little story there. But I love these jerseys, too. These are some of my favorite possessions. Because, listen, I could have a Vince Carter signed jersey on my wall behind me, but I don't. And I've never owned a Vince Carter jersey. When I worked at the arena, I bought these jerseys during those playoff runs with New York and Philadelphia. And I bought the guys that I really loved and honored. And that was Alvin Williams with the authentic jersey. That's not even a replica. That's an authentic one. And then the Muggsy. I mean, how can you not celebrate the shortest player to ever play in the NBA on his role on the Raptors later in his career as a leader and just such a great pro? Oh my gosh, I've met Muggsy before also, and he's fantastic. He's absolutely an awesome person. And then of course the JYD. JYD is somebody I interact with still sometimes online because we're Facebook friends. And he's such a nice guy, cool guy too. So yeah, that was cool talking to Alvin about my jerseys that are behind me yesterday and telling him that I got it on the wall behind me right here. Let's see. Guardian saying at MSJ, where did you play? Like what level and how high did you get? MSJ or any? It's not, even if you didn't play at any high level or anything, you can tell us whatever. If you want to, it's fine. David's saying, had a good time last night. Lex, thanks a bunch for the suggestion. David, I'm so happy that you came down and joined us. Once again, listen, you and I, there's something about, you're like an old friend of mine, that you remind me of an old friend of mine, that I'm a very close friend. And in some ways, you have a lot of the same characteristics. And in some ways, that is a natural friendship kind of bond. That is some of the jokes that we had at Raptors Tonight last night and some of the stories I was telling you guys, it just really was fun. And like what I told you to do, I told David at one point while Raptors Tonight was filming, it's like, David, you need to go over there and ask them a question and drop an expletive in the middle of it and just see what they'll do. And David started laughing at me when I made that, when I told him that. He's like, that would be funny. And I was like, yeah, make it a mild one. Don't like drop an F-bomb or anything like that, but go over there and maybe drop a little comment. And maybe you can associate it with the number 58, Josh Tiven, somehow, some way. I don't know. We were brainstorming. Nobody really had the guts to go and get on there and actually ask the question. And they'd already prearranged the Serge Ibaka guy coming up and asking the question during the show. But We saw that Shere Khan got his answer, his question read on the show last night. That was awesome, Shere Khan. Seeing your question get read on the show, I watched it later on. I was like, "You go, Shere Khan." There's one of our guys getting on the air with his question. So good stuff on Raptors Tonight last night, David. And you can very much see me standing in the background. You go watch Raptors Tonight now. You can kind of see Greg back there too, sitting at the table under the light because of the angle and the way it was sitting. If you really suss it out, you might be able to see Tom Duke. You may be able to see the Saborin brothers also. But it was so good to see you, David. And we need to get together and hang out more this summer, hopefully, and different times and do fun stuff, man. All right, let's see. Lux is saying 18 points in the fourth, but Pascal was meh, according to the haters. Yeah, he had a lot of points late, and like I said, he was the only one really carrying us home in some ways. And I was down on him in the beginning, but by the end of the game, I was like, Siakam is great. He is a great player, but unfortunately, not enough to get us the win. MSJ saying, Guardian, I won a high school championship and a few NBA hoop it up 3-on-3s and T-Dot was a decent player, and it bothers me as the Raps shoot so poorly this year. It signals that they aren't putting in the work. Yeah, I don't get this, how bad we shoot. It's really crazy and ridiculous. In some ways, Nick Nurse is so frustrated this season. I wonder if he really is upset with the players and that they have not been getting up to the level of what he wants in certain ways. But in some ways, his hands are tied and he can't do a whole lot in certain ways. I don't know. I don't want to read into this and speculate too much. But in some ways, the angst and the upsetness of Nick all season I've wondered about it because he has seemed like he has been more edgy and angry and like not happy than ever this particular season. In fact, he may have been happier during the Tampa season in the other country, playing in Florida and dealing with COVID and all these kinds of stuff. And this year has been more difficult for Nick than any of those other seasons in some ways. I get this feeling. And I feel like part of it has to do with the personal reason why he left earlier this season for a few games. And I also feel like it has to do with the losing, obviously. But maybe there's something that's frustrating him about the team and their effort to a degree also. Then maybe you're on to something a little bit. But yeah, all right, we're going to very much respect MSJ as a real one, as a real baller, because this is a very nice resume right here. He's won a high school championship with his basketball team, and he has won some 3-on-3 tournaments here in Toronto. And I'm going to tell you that right now. That's no slouch because this city does have some good competition. If you come down there with two of your buddies and you do run that tournament and you get that win, that is a very big, impressive accomplishment to me. So yeah, we're gonna treat MSJ with the proper respect. In fact, I'm gonna say you're like a semi-pro, bro, if you're able to do that kind of stuff. So you're gonna get that kind of respect around here as far as things for sure. Mike saying Lex was getting the boogie props. Man, it was so cool. I am one of his people. Listen, I'm an Alvin Williams super fan. I'm a Raptors super fan, but I'm also an Alvin Williams super fan. And I made it known that I have so much love and appreciation for him last night. And, it's got to feel good to these guys, honestly. They always say that the fans are part of the best part of some of the things that go along with being famous and being the NBA is feeling the outpouring of kindness and happiness and love from the fans. They were saying at the Rap Social City that when we're out on town and we see Raptors fans out and about, they're so kind and so nice and supportive. And in some ways, some of the older players that don't play anymore, they get forgotten. The younger people don't know them. A lot of people don't even know why Alvin Williams is important to the Raptors franchise. So when somebody is older and remembers and really does value and treasure his part in the whole history of things, I'm sure that they really do enjoy that. Because I did get those vibes. Like, honestly, Alvin was like, he's my dude, man. He's my dude. He's definitely my dude. I always love Alvin Williams. And he'll always be one of my favorite Raptors of all time. He was definitely my favorite Raptor of all time for like 20 plus years. It's tough. It's muddled now. There's so many different guys on this team that I really love and care about a lot. But Alvin will always be the original favorite Raptor. And in some ways, he still is my favorite Raptor overall. He really is in some ways. Let's see. As above, so below. Onions, baby. Onions, Williams. Onions, A. Williams. Interesting. A. Williams. Yeah, I love A. Williams. That's right. So you're doing the Chuck Swirsky call. This guy's an old school here, as above, so below. Learning the characteristics of this name here. This man knows his Swirsky. And I love that. I love that so much. Cool Cat saying, P point guard play was very poor, and that is why we lost. Kyle Lowry would have put guys in position to get better shots. Yeah, everything was janky. Everything was difficult. Everything was mired, like it was running through a briar bush and just like held down, like as far as our offense. Nothing was smooth. Nothing was easy. And it seemed like everything like that was going on for them at the other end was smooth and easy, getting easy layups and hitting open threes. Patchouli G is saying, I think Siakam tried to get people going in the first half. He was passing a lot. I was worried too when I saw 6 points. He was awesome in the second half. Only bright light. You go, Patchouli G, and good to see you this morning. I hope you'll join us every day, 9:30 a.m. We're talking Raptors. This is the place where you get your comments and opinions on the team and what's happening with them. I will read it and we'll talk about it. Everybody gets heard here. If I'm not reading your comments, because YouTube has hidden them from me. It's not me glossing over them. Know that, everybody, that I read every single thing you guys write in there that I can see up from my end. But I appreciate you being here, Patchouli. And I like that you're shining a light on Siakam and his, he was a little disappointing in the first half, but boy, did he make up for it by the end of the game. He really did. Leslie saying Fred kept jacking up threes and missing. The Raps shot poorly from three. I wish I wish that they would have gone inside way more. Yeah. Yeah, I'm all about that too, Leslie. And I'm totally about that too. I mean, listen, those threes, they could have gone in, could have gone out, whatever. They didn't go in. They gone in. Fred's more and more of a hero. Yeah, it's just tough. And especially like having such a poor 3-point shooting output against such a good 3-point shooting team. This was not the night to not be able to hit threes and only get 7 for the whole entire night. When is the last time we've only hit 7 3-pointers in a game for the whole entire game? No, we get at least 10, usually 10 to 12, maybe even 15. And that's kind of like what pisses me off about this. Smooth saying, love the pick, true fans. That's right. That was such a great get together. And once again, y'all check out Ghubbstown Clink. Greg's channel is absolutely fantastic. It really is a collective between him, Mike, and myself. Play it again, Sue. We have our little family of a community with different channels and different people making content on here. And it is a really important things like Mike. I really appreciate what Mike does with his channel. In some ways, I wish Mike had been around last night. But Greg and I were really helping each other, talk each other up in some ways with the other people. Like when we were talking to Randy and people, Greg was like putting in word for me. And, we were like pumping each other up in front of him. And that's so awesome. I really do appreciate that, Greg. Because we're it's not that we're in competition, but in some ways, we don't have to do that. You don't have to be like open arms and community with me, Greg. And I appreciate that you are, because we really are stronger together in what we do and stuff like that. And I appreciate that, Greg. And honestly, there's some things that I want to do with the Ghubbstown Clink in the future that could be really impressive. And some of the things we talked about recently are really good ideas that we may do projects in the future together, just so you guys know. Ghubbstown and I. So it'll be fun. Let's see. But yeah, that was such a good time, Smooth. And listen, if you live in Toronto and you want to come and join us for one of these get-togethers sometime, we're gonna figure out more and more of this kind of stuff where we can cause community in real life, where people can get together and have fun like we did last night all together. And we would hope that maybe if you can make it, you come and join us one day too. Fiercely saying, good morning, fam. Just tuning in. Another game we could have easily won. If we had hit our free throws and 3-pointers. Special mention to Jakob. I saw Tom Duke on TV. Yes. Hope you still had a blast. Holy crap. So you're the second person that said that they saw Tom on TV. Well, Tom may have more of a present from going on this trip than he realized, that he did actually make it on TV. That is awesome, Fiercey. And maybe we're going to have to figure this out. Maybe Mike or Greg, they're much better at getting this stuff and captured and getting the frame. Maybe we got to find Tom from the telecast. I know Mike has his repository where he can go and find the highlights and the game stuff that he uses for his channel. Maybe you guys can search it down and at least find the still of it and send it to Tommy so he has a picture of himself on the Raptors broadcast. That's so awesome, Fiercey, that you saw him on the TV. That's really, really cool. Good to see you, Fiercey, as always. Awesome. Monique is saying, what if I told you a Raptors fan gave me $2 $50 bills heading out the arena yesterday? What does that tell you? I don't know, Monique. I mean, that's fantastic. You just you want the money. Hey, here's the money. That's so awesome. You know what? You know what it is, Monique. I'm gonna tell you that what it is right here. You are a spirit and a leader in the Raptors community, being positive and just being a role model. And it may be that this person really finds you inspiring or just knowledgeable because maybe they followed you. I don't know how they know you. Maybe they were just like, you know what? We appreciate you, Monique. And here's a couple of red fins right here for you. Here you go, darling. Here's two red fins right here for you. Bam. Yeah. Well, hey, listen, fantastic. I love to hear that kind of love and generosity sent to you because you deserve it. You deserve it, Monique. You are a superstar and a hero to us all. David saying, I tell you, it was counterfeit. David being funny. David always being a smart ass and stuff like that. That's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know, Monique. Maybe get that light thing that they have at convenience stores to check and see if the bill is real. I'm sure it's real. Come on, David. It's got holograms and bumps on it. It should be a real Canadian tender. So, Mike saying Flynn was putting work in on McConnell and looks solid at limiting him. Great defensive energy from Flynn. Not gonna lie, he actually played well. Well, that actually is a good point, Mike, because in a way that makes sense. It was really in the first quarter that TJ was maneuvering, and he wasn't even really at the 3-point line. He did this really interesting thing where he would get in the lane, and Jakob would try and guard him, and he'd be close enough, and you'd think he'd almost block him. But somehow TJ creates a little bit more space somehow. And then he lofts the shot, and he gets it over them, and it goes in. And he was doing that very effectively in the first half. And you're right, Mike. When Flynn came in and he played more later, he missed all those shots later. So this is a really good point, perspective by Logical Raptors fanatic. That is exactly right. In some ways, Flynn can be tied to McConnell getting cold later in the game and the defensive effort he was showing on him. So good point, Mike. That makes sense to me because I did see Malachi very active out there, very engaged, very on top of things. In some ways, he was very much being a leader last night on the court, Malachi Flynn. MSJ saying at Guardian, but I also coached at different levels for 25 years, and you can see that sometimes the Raps fall into bad habits. Last night was a needed win, very old. They played so weak, very odd. They played so weak. I know it's very strange because what they had some time off, right? In some ways, that time off doesn't help. I don't know. You had 2 days off since Milwaukee on Sunday. I agree with this. In basketball, sometimes the percentage shots, like if you're hooping, you want to know that you make it in, whether it's like a weird spin or how you use the backboard or whether you're using the rim to guard yourself from the defender coming at you. So you come up on under, there's all kinds of tricks of the trade that can help you get a higher percentage to make sure your shot goes in. In some ways, the Raptors are not utilizing all of the possible tricks of the trade to help them to get their shots to go in more often than miss. And I can see this in what MSJ's saying. There's something weird about like their effort and how they execute like the shots to make sure they go in. Like they're just not going in. They're either half-assed, either they're getting contact and they're not finishing through the contact, or they're missing wide open shots that they should honestly making because they're professional basketball players. And in some ways, that's the thing that's maddening to me. And it's been like this whole season. There's so many missed shots this season. They're like, how did you miss that? That you were wide open for three, or you're right next to the basket, and you should just be finishing that. Meanwhile, it seems like everybody else is making those shots in the other way. Lux is saying Mathurin erased OG at the rim. Very impressive from the Canadians. 500 plus family and friends in attendance. Wow, that's the stat, Lux. 500 plus friends and family for Mathurin and Nembhard last night. Amazing. They probably were right around SGA's number. He had an amazing contingency of people that were there. Well, these guys did look like it rivaled it to a degree last night. OG. All right, let's talk about Mathurin and OG because there were a lot of times where they met in the lane with Benedict attacking the rim, and OG would come and like do a little bit of a dance around him and get in his way and cause problems. But the athleticism of Ben Mathurin was able to beat him and go around him and still finish effectively with OG guarding him in the lane and trying to stop him. That was very interesting to me. And I think that speaks a lot to just how good that young man is. Wayne's saying, can't be on the coach. Schemes were run, and Barton, OG, Pascal, and Fred all got good looks. This loss is on us. We rebound tomorrow against Casey. Oh, and you even bring up the name that in some ways strikes fear in Raptors Nation, Mr. Coach Casey. Yeah, I hope you're right. I hope we will look better against Detroit. We should. Obviously, they're very much in the Victor sweepstakes, and they're actually the front runner right now. They're actually had the best chance at the first pick out of all the teams in the league right now. I don't know. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit here, Wayne. I'm with you on pretty much everything you've said so far today, except for this little part about like not getting it on the coach. I really do feel like that's his choice. He is the one who decides to start Will Barton in the starting lineup last night. And that singularly was one of the worst decisions that happened last night. Is he should not have been starting with them. I'm sorry. You could say, oh, you put him out there and he failed and it's on Barton's fault. Well, in some ways, Nick put him in a position to not be successful by doing that. And I don't like that. I don't like that. I feel like that was a poor judgment. Very much was. And he may take that back. He may think back and say, why did I start him like that? He may be thinking that today, watching the tape and realizing, man, that is really was a screw up. Well, I hope that Casey is kind, and we don't have any more Casey's revenge. We're all have at peace with Casey. He's a part of our legacy of our franchise, and we love Coach Casey. So there's no anger, and in some ways, we may be helping him to beat his ass and get what they want to get from the rest of the season. MSJ saying, thinking of the past, anyone play at Hart House in the Ryerson Rack in the mid to late 90s? You know what? This is funny. I never played there because I was in the States. I lived in Florida at that time. But you know what? I've heard of these places and I've heard about this place, Hart House. And I also kind of remember the Ryerson Rack. Just hearing the not the legend, but just like hearing about it, being around, loving basketball and coming to Canada and being around. But I've heard about Hart House and stuff, but I wasn't there myself. But I can't say that this is something I've never heard of. So, but I don't know enough about it. I'm not an expert or I couldn't tell you anything, but I have heard of that. Then that's what you're asking, right? So, let me cook saying, I had the game on and it looked like I saw some Sixers fans in Toronto. You guys sell Philly merch in the stadium. I didn't see any Sixers fans myself. I mean, we have fans from all around. We have a lot of Kobe fans in Toronto. We have a lot of Laker fans in Toronto. We have a lot of Golden State fans in Toronto. We don't have as many Eastern Conference teams, although there is a huge contingency of Brooklyn Nets fans out in Scarborough. But I think it's really because it's a gang that wears Nets gear as part of their like gang identity. And so there's a little bit of Nets fans out there. I did have a young man sitting right in front of me wearing a Clippers jersey, but it was a number 3 Kawhi Leonard one. So, we see other jerseys from other teams in our arena, but if you saw some Philly jerseys, that may very well be true. It may have been an Iverson jersey, maybe. I doubt it was an MB jersey. Let's just put it that way. I don't think there's very many people, even if they are a Philly fan, that have the guts to come to a Toronto Raptors fan when they're not playing Philly and wearing an MB jersey. That's not normal. But maybe it was a Maxi jersey. We do like Maxi up here. Or a Harden jersey. I could see it being a Harden jersey possibly too. But no, I didn't see any Sixers fans on myself. I was in the arena, but maybe there were some on TV that I didn't see. David's saying, let me cook. I got to say, sometimes I'm sure you're just trolling. Maybe not. I think he's being honest. Like we talked about this last night when we were leaving Real Sports. It's like, well, I very much have to take you guys at your word. It's like maybe I am kind of what's the word? Not ignorant or like maybe naive. I may be naive. I don't know if you guys are being sarcastic or whatever. I can't read it or untruthful. Somebody came in here recently said they're 13. I don't know if they're 13 or not. They can be truthful or they could be trolling. And I just have to take you guys at your truth. And if you aren't being honest and I'm getting fooled, well, shame on you. I believed you. So, but no, I think he's fine, David. I think that this is actually a legitimate question because they did actually see Sixers jerseys on the TV last night. So I don't think they're actually trolling. Logical saying, let me cook. We have a blue jersey, the Huskies blue jersey. Yeah, I don't even think it's that. I mean, like I said, there was a blue Clippers jersey in front of me in my section. I don't know. There are some people that will show up in Sixers or Celtics gear in our arena. It's just like anywhere in the NBA. There's NBA fans, and fans buy the jerseys, and they don't care about the teams or anything. I'm just going to an NBA game. I'm put on my NBA jersey. Oh, that's an Embiid jersey, bro. Maybe you shouldn't wear that, bro. It's the only jersey I have. I want to go to the game. It's like, dude, trust me. You don't want to wear that jersey, bro. Just trust me. Oh, no, let's go. And then he goes to the game. He's like, fucking beat. He sucks. Flop artist. Floppy Joes. Yeah, and bitch. It's like, stuff like that probably happening to them. Maybe it's David following him around, too. Yeah, get rid of that jersey. You should throw it out. Wayne's saying both OG and Chris Boucher got potential dunks blocked. They were surprised and really didn't respond to a young team's intensity. Well, this is the thing. It's weird because we didn't have anything down low for defensive presence in some ways. And that was scary to me because Yaka played a big chunk of the game. But we didn't have any seal down low. But they definitely did. Miles Turner was fantastic on the down low with guarding the rim with rim protection last night. We couldn't get anything good near the basket easily. And I really blame Miles really, really hardcore on that. He was fantastic in this. And it really was him on this. Definitely was him on this, Wayne. Rorschach saying Nick Nurse should have started Boucher and made it a 4 Canucks start. Would have been cool to see. I know. I kind of wish Delano was healthy too. And maybe we could have started him instead of Will Barton. Exactly right. Chris Boucher should have started last night, and we would have had 4 Canadians starting in the game last night. You dropped the ball, Nick. What are you doing? You're Team Canada's coach. You should know about the important Canadian milestones and not just let Rick Carlisle come in and get all the shine because he made the first ever 3 Canadian starting lineup in the history of the NBA last night on Canadian soil. And in some ways, it was a historic game. In some ways, this is tailor-made for Tom Duke's visit. That Tom Duke is a proud Canadian. That he's somebody that he really loves his country. In fact, he talked about it while he was here. He's like, I'm such a Canadian guy. I love Canada. Everything about Canada. Well, Tom got to go to one of the most important historic Canadian games in the history of the NBA. He went to the game where 3 Canadian men started for one team. And there you go, Tom. So in some ways, look at that silver lining. We may not have won, but you went to a game of history. And that was because of Rick Carlisle's decisions with the roster and who started. Yeah, that was good stuff. I think you're right, Rorschach. That was a real drop the ball moment by Nick Nurse. Once again, you could have done this with Boucher and made it 4 in the starting lineup on both sides. Oh my gosh. Evelyn's saying Yahoo Sports Canada. Van Vliet says Raptors home crowd is shit when the team is struggling. Fred Van Vliet thinks the Raptors home court is great when things are going, but so silent when losing. Yeah, and there was honestly, I was in there last night and I saw it myself. The crowd does not get roused up unless the team rouses them up. I can try my damnedest. These motherfuckers ain't helping. I'll be yelling there and look like a crazy man yelling defense all the time during the game. And I give so much credit to my good friend Tom Duke and Greg for making noise next to me last night. But it's so tough getting the mass of everybody around. There were these youngsters in front of us. 19 years old, just drinking a couple beers in front of us. Those young men have loud voices. They did not make a peep. In the whole entire game, they just sat there, and some of them were playing Minesweeper or something on their phone. They're playing phone games in the middle of the game. That's what I'm saying. In some ways, Fred's right. He has to get the crowd engaged and involved in the game to really get the juice and the best stuff that they can do. But where's this chicken before the egg thing? Is it chicken or the egg? Do we have to get up and then they get going? Or did they get going and then we get up? I don't know. But the whole problem is that there wasn't enough getting up and getting it going on either end from the crowd or on the court last night. And I hate that because I was there and I did my damnedest. I really, really did. I was like, defense! You can ask the people all around me. Yeah, there was that loud guy. In fact, some of the people coming out of the stadium, when they were walking up, they wanted to see who the loud guy was. And they were giving me a little eye like, oh, that's the guy who was so loud through the game. Motherfucker, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be like me, is what I'm telling y'all when you come down there. Yeah, I didn't like those dirty looks. These old men walking by me on their way out like, oh, he's the loud one. He was the one who was so loud. Ooh. I hate that. Stop shaming people for being sports fans and being passionate. In the Scotiabank Arena, fans that are casual, fans that don't really give a shit, fans that are there to be seen. Because some of us are passionate and we do give a shit and we will get loud in there. and I'm sick of this shit. I saw it back in the day when I was working there. I come out and I try and cheer everybody up. They didn't have the t-shirt throwers. They didn't have the people that pumped you up and popped out with the bag and like, here's a flag, here's a t-shirt. No, I was that dude. And I was wearing my Mr. Sub uniform. And sometimes I got in trouble for going out there. But I saw the Raptors fans sitting on their hands like it was dinner theater. Just sitting there like they're watching a movie in a movie theater. This is a basketball game. This is a sporting event. You're supposed to get loud. I come from Florida State, Tallahassee, where they cheer the Seminoles so loud down south. And it was like, I need to teach these people in 2001, 2002, when Vince was here. I said, come on, get up. Get up. I'm out there in my Mr. Sub uniform with the apron. Get up, get loud. And the little kids would be like, yeah, let's do it. And then the dad would say, no, son, please, we're Canadian. Be quiet. I'm like, no, get loud. And well, these kids grew up. And they're more louder adult fans in the Raptors nation because of that. But this is where it all comes from, is that the Canadian crowd is too polite. It's too nice. It's too passive. It's too like, I just come here to watch. Oh, I can be an active participant? You mean I can help? They didn't know that. And in some ways, I'm very proud of where we come from like 2001, 2002, when I do that in the Mr. Sub uniform, when I wasn't supposed to be out there, but when they didn't have people throwing t-shirts and doing what I was doing, even though I was an employee, that they are so much better. That in some ways, I have no children. In some ways, that is my baby. It's like, oh, he grew up so good. The crowd finally cheers better now. But we're not perfect. And there are things that we still could do better. My ultimate dream and vision of this, if we've gotten to this point, and this is progress and what I see, I want to get to that point that I've described where our team crowd is so relentless. They don't care if we're winning or losing. We're down by 10, we're up by 10. They have the same passion and the same loudness and the same volume and the same fear that they put in the other team because they're so active and so loud and crazy no matter what. That's what I'm saying. I want to get that characteristic for Raptors fan nation in the building. That what Fred said, I don't want that to be a matter, like whether they're playing shit or not. We just cheer them relentlessly, unconditionally. And that in some ways, that is a powerful strength that we can help them, whether they're down and we pull them up because we believe in them. We show that we do. We don't add more air of like no confidence because they have no confidence because they're not hitting shots. And then the crowd doesn't have confidence. It doubles down on the air of confidence in the arena is bad. That's what I'm saying. And then the other way, the other team could score like crazy and it doesn't shut us up. Like that's so often what a road team loves to do. They come into another arena and they keep the crowd quiet. They enjoy it. It was very fun most of the game in Milwaukee on Sunday because we kept that crowd quiet for a majority of the game. The Milwaukee fans were like, oh, pensive and quiet. Well, what if we were like belligerently like, we don't care. You can be ahead of us hitting all these shots. We will not shut up. You do not control us. We are the fans that get loud no matter what. I really want us to get this characteristic. I want us to evolve to this. And over the next 20 years from now, if we could go from sitting on our hands like it's dinner fear and reprimanding our children for being loud at the Raptors game 20 years ago to where we are now at this point, well, let's see the next evolution to this thing that I just described, where we go in there and we don't give a shit. They were winning or losing. We are just consistently loud and saying defense every time the other team has the ball. And everybody fears that around the league. They're like, oh, we're going to Canada. We know that their fans are going to be there like they do. They come correct. That's what I'm saying. Do we want our team to come correct every night? Well, why don't we come correct every night, regardless of whether they do or not? And maybe they fall in line with us. Could be. I mean, seriously, it wouldn't hurt. And wouldn't we like to empower ourselves as a fan nation to help in that kind of way if we really do love the team and want the best thing for them? That's how I feel about it. That's why I really do what I do. Let's see. But thanks for the comment, Evelyn. I'm so with you on this. MSJ saying, I really like TJ. He is the kind of player the refs like, I bet. Plays 110% at all times and wants to win each minute on the court. He seems to like to play against the Raps a bit too much, though. In some ways, it's Fred. Like there's a very much mutual friendship and like respect between TJ McConnell and Fred VanVleet as being undersized point guards in this league. overachieved, carved out a niche and a role in this league, and hung around. That these dudes really do like each other and respect each other in some ways because they can see each other in each other. And I agree. He's a really, really tough guy on the court. And for what he has and his talent, he really maximizes it. And, he is a very good pro. In some ways, I've slighted him in the past. He's annoying. In some ways, I don't really like him, but I do have to respect him. And that's for sure. Monique is saying Fred was also pissed with the refs too, but glad Fred didn't say much to get another fine. Yeah, Chris said more about the refs last night than Fred did after the game. But honestly, they can't blame the refs last night. Sure, Josh Tiven was a little jerk and he was really kind of screwy, but they really ultimately they lost because they didn't shoot well. Mike's saying it's building consistency over time. So Pirtle will have a night of 7-7, 3-9, but it's starting to have more 6-6 and less 3 out of 9 over time. Boucher went through it and he's figured it out when he was 27, 28. Yeah, but Mike, it's a little different. I get what you're saying, and you're right. Boucher has improved his free throw shooting immensely in recent years, and I'm very proud of him for it. But I'm not holding my breath with Jakob, unfortunately. I really am not. He's the kind of guy that would work on this and fix this because he really doesn't like it. If he could get better traction and better results from it, he would because he's like that kind of guy. He's not like he's going to have a weakness to his game on purpose. He would very much try and cover it up and fix it if he could. And maybe he is like, I hope you're right. Honestly, I want you to be right on this, Mike. I don't want to be right on this, but I just know the history of bad free throw shooters in the NBA. And the fact that sometimes these guys just never, ever get good. They could play 20 years in the league and they never, ever get better at free throws. And I hate that. I wish it was true what you're saying with Jakob, and hopefully it will be anyway. Wayne's saying Pascal passing the ball to Christian for a 3-point shot is crazy at that time. Christian doesn't make threes, but that's not his job. And the timing in the game was low IQ on Pascal's part. Yeah, I agree with this. In fact, this is something that's weird about our team. We have very good IQ in some ways, high IQ, but in some ways our team has low IQ on the court also, and it's maddening and it pisses me off. Like, it's like, what the hell? That's not the smart decision. And I feel like you guys make really dumb decisions in some situations where it's like, you guys are really smart. You're high IQ players, but you're not making high IQ decisions in the game. And why is that not lining up? I totally agree with this one. I didn't see that particular play or notice that one in particular. You're saying he threw it to Christian for a 3? Well, why weren't you doing that with OG more or somebody else? Yeah, that's troubling to me. Logical saying, I thought that shot was going in from Kanono. He's capable of shooting threes. His form is way better than Boucher, but timing may be off. Yeah, I mean, we don't need that right now. Like, that's not going to be the thing that gets us back in the game is giving the ball to Christian on the outside to hit threes. It's just not smart. It's not a high IQ, as Wayne said. MSJ saying the OBL took a COVID hit, but it will come back strong. High school ball might be dead due to the prep school these days, but places like Orangeville and others are going to pump out great talent now. Good to call. Like, listen, MSJ, if this is a area of expertise and knowledge that you know about, I'm always interested in the lower levels of basketball in Canada. And if you ever know any interesting stuff, I don't mind you coming in with this expertise and being knowledgeable on this kind of stuff. I love hearing this. I hate hearing that there were problems because of the pandemic hurting high school ball in Canada. In fact, that is not good for this nation, considering the cohorts and the timing with the championship and when guys are coming. We need to have the high school system for basketball in Canada to be strong, to be a good pipeline, to continue churning out the good young Canadian talent coming into the NBA. So I don't want to hear about hurting the game, like some of what you're saying here, but you do say that the prep schools and places like Orangeville are going to pump them out still. All right, well, that's good to know, and thanks for the tidbit of knowledge. Like I said, now that we're finding out more about MSJ today, a lot of respect and for his knowledge base and also his background with basketball as far as coaching as a player. Fiercely saying Barton is struggling, but I'm willing to give him another chance. We'll see. There's a reason he's being picked up. I hope so, Fiercely. I really do. And I'm all about a redemption story. Trust me. This is very much like a movie plot where he's going through the hard times and then he'll get the time where he comes up and rises to the occasion. I'm all for it. I'm here for it all. I'm here for it yesterday. I'm here for it very much, definitely tomorrow. Mike's saying Barton works with Scotty the best. From what I've seen, and when he fits, he can exchange roles with Scotty, like play guard defense and allow Scotty to guard forwards too. Then Will goes small forward on offense. Well, Scotty's not playing right now. Will's got to be able to play with the other guys too. Guardian saying at MSJ, I had 2 years at St. Mary's, Maryland, Division III. Wow. Okay. See, we've got a few real ballers in here, guys that have actually played to certain levels. And I appreciate that, man. I really do. MSJ saying, holy wow, what position did you play? Very cool. Very cool. I like this back and forth here. I'm interested to find out more. Kareem saying Jim Carrey needs to play Rick Carlisle in a movie to top off his Hall of Fame career. Listen, in some ways, I would say that is not an interesting movie, but actually, I'd be lying. Rick Carlisle probably would be an interesting movie, and it would be a very interesting role for a comedic actor like Jim Carrey. In some ways, he's done a couple of movies where he has been a little bit more serious, like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, The Majestic. There's a few movies that Carrey's been like that, but it would be very interesting to see this movie if they did make it, Rick Carlisle biopic with Jim Carrey starring as him. I would like to see the chops of Jim Carrey in that role. And I'd also like to see this story because in some ways people don't know that Rick Carlisle has had a very interesting life as far as he's had health problems he's battled in the middle of his career and he came back from them. And, there's stuff from his earlier life too that's kind of interesting with his playing career, playing for the Celtics a lot and other places in the NBA. So it may be a worthwhile biopic to look at. He's an underrated coach that doesn't get a lot of shine. You hear a lot about Popovich this, Spoelstra this, Kerr this, but Carlisle is definitely one of the best coaches in the NBA, and we saw it last night. I would love to see this movie, Kareem. Can we have this happen? Everybody's saying they joke about it on the team. The Pacers joke that he's Jim Carrey, and they make funny jokes in that relationship all the time, saying, "Oh, that coach is Jim Carrey," or they see a picture of Jim Carrey and they start calling him Rick Carlisle. That's funny. All right, let me finish up everything since we're getting almost to 3 hours, and I don't want to go too long today, but that's awesome. All right, let me see. Where am I? Guardian saying MSJ, he was a shooting guard, 6'4", 220, defensive specialist, offensive, defensive rebounding. Awesome. That is very cool. All right. So this is a very strong guard. If he's in there getting in on the rebounds and stuff. Interesting. Makes me think of like an old player like Lafayette Lever, Fat Lever of the Denver Nuggets back in the day, getting a lot of rebounds at that height. The Guardians at 6'4" guy in the NBA getting like 10 rebounds a game. Very cool. Fiercely saying, seriously, Nick Nurse should reassess his lineups and also trust the bench. What is the point of sitting them? They might as well not show up to work. Also, we're lucky the Hawks and Bulls lost. Yeah. And Jakob missed free throws, but he's not the only one. He's demonstrated before he can hit them. So I won't be hard on him because he compensates in other areas as opposed to Barton, who doesn't seem to do jack shit. Wow. I can't argue with anything that Fiercey's saying here at all. In fact, I like that Fiercey's saying, first of all, she's saying that the thing about Nick Nurse with trusting the bench. Yeah. And then like the whole thing about not sitting those guys last night was really weird. That was messed up. In fact, I was worried they weren't going to show up, Fiercey, because they didn't come right out right at the beginning of the game. They came out really slowly. Like they weren't out there for the jump or anything. And then all of a sudden I saw Scott walk out and he came and sat down and he was the only one there. And I was like, where the hell are Gary and Precious? And why are they not even on the bench? Well, then Gary came out at one point, but there was still no Precious there. And then I started to get like out of my head, like, is Precious pissed because Nick took him out of the rotation recently? Is there all kinds of problems that are happening with this team that I have no idea about? I start trying to read between the lines. And then finally, Precious came out and sat down at the bench also with the other two guys. And yeah, it was really weird. We are lucky that those other teams lost. I don't want to get too harsh on Fred, Pascal, or Jakob, but there are things that they did that could have helped us better last night. And yes, Will Barton, please do more. My brother is here. Carl, good morning to you, my good brother, Carl in Atlanta. We love you so much. I love you so much, Carl. I miss you. And I hope that the kids are doing great and Sabrina's doing great. I know you guys just went on a skiing trip. And I hope that it was everything you guys needed as a break and having fun. I know you had to do a little bit of a weird like go somewhere for a swim meet in North Carolina, then come back and then get on a plane to get to the ski trip. So I hope that all your travel went really smooth and everything went great for you, Carl. I miss you and I love you so much, my brother, in the States that I don't see very often. I see him maybe once or twice a year at the most. And so I really do miss him. Let Me Cook saying Bill Russell was a career 56% foul shooter. Shaq was 53. Wilt was 51. Duncan was 69. And all of them are in my top 10 all-time players list. Their greatness helped make up for the poor free throws, though. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And look, they're big men. That's the thing. It's very much with big men. I think it's almost like you have to be super huge to shoot that bad to be in the NBA. Well, he shoots so bad. Well, but he's 7 foot and he does this for us. He's so good in this. That's a really good comment. I like Let Me Cook saying this because it didn't matter to him that all these they bad free throw shooters, but they had so many good things otherwise that were overpowering on that. You can say that with Shaq. It was such a Achilles heel. They made up a whole thing called Hack-a-Shaq. And in some ways, but he was such a dominant player in all other aspects of the game that it made up for it. And that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's tough. And look at these names. I mean, these are not like this is Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal. These are the greatest of greats. Fiercely saying, Lex, your phone calls crack me up. Yeah, I think it's funny. I don't even know what the number is. If I could tell you the number that I'm calling when I call them, I don't know. I wouldn't tell you that anyway. I shouldn't. Then I might get in trouble. I don't know. It's funny. I'm glad you enjoy it. Fun guy saying, wish we got Lou Williams instead of this guy Barton. Lou is a true bucket getter vet and on no team. Shaking my head. I know. Like, what about Carmelo? In some ways, somebody was saying, why don't we have Carmelo Anthony on our team right now or something like that? In some ways, I wonder about that kind of thing. Maybe these guys don't want to come here. I mean, Lou Will, I could see him coming back. He might be okay to come back. He won a six-man of the year with us. But Carmelo may be one of those guys like Alonzo. It's like, I will never play for the Raptors. You want me? Like Masai's calling him. He's like, Carmelo, will you come play for the Raptors? Hell no, I won't play for the Raptors. And then, I don't know. I don't know how it goes with that. Let's see. Let Me Cook saying, I was doing some research and saw the Raptors have a career record of 62-44 against the Sixers. We got to work on that. Well, now this is the whole thing. You guys we're even in playoff series at this point. We've both won 2 series and lost 2 series. And yeah, we're ready to even that back up again and get back against you guys from last year. But yeah, that's a good record. I like that. I like that record. We don't need to even that up. Logical saying, your old school jerseys are unique and special, and your story added to it. That is the thing I love about jerseys. The memories attached to them. The 20 jersey is a real deal. Pros jersey they wear. Yeah, I mean, listen, Alvin, when I told him that, he just smiled. And I told him, it's an authentic. It's not even the replica because it's different. The 2 of the other ones are replicas. That one in the middle, that 20 and that Toronto that's written on it is stitched on and it's like above it. And on the back, it's the same thing with the A. Williams on the back. So yeah, oh man, and like honestly, Mike, being around, it's like a hero. And it's crazy because my path crosses with him every once in a while. And in some ways, maybe he'll start to remember me. I don't know. Maybe he knows he has a super fan in the Raptors freak. And Alvin will know that I always got his back. Yeah. Oh, man. He's doing so good this year in the broadcast. I'm so happy that he's in that spot because he really is such a good person to be there. Mike's also saying Carlisle is a really good defensive coach. He outcoached Nick. I can admit that tonight. Our actions weren't bearing fruit, hence the Fred VanVleet hero ball and no one hitting shots really till Spicy woke up. Well, this is the thing. I can say that Rick Carlisle got him on both ends of the court, whether it's like whatever he was doing with Miles Turner and protecting the paint and the defensive stymieing they were doing to the Raptors, making it hard on them to score. And then just how easily he got their offense going in different ways without Halliburton, which is crazy. They were hitting the threes. They were getting all these really nice cuts to the basket through the lane where nobody would be there all of a sudden. And also they're really good at looking at where the defensive deficiencies are and getting the ball in that proximity of that part of the court because they're finding open shots because there's space. And sometimes I feel like our Raptors just don't look for the open space and try and find that space good enough. More often, they're throwing it into the middle of the hornet's nest where everybody's standing around. And I'm like, well, there's a corner over there where OG's by himself. And you're instead throwing it right down to Pascal, and he's got like 3 of the other team right around him. The Pacers did that really well last night, avoiding the defensive players and getting the ball to spots where there weren't as many Raptors around to stop them. In fact, we would find them falling through the cracks. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's like TJ McConnell, like 10, it's 5 feet away from the basket on the side of the lane. And he's shooting a little running, like easy short shot. And Jakob's just a little bit not close enough to come out and get to him and contest the shot. So there was a lot of that. So really good job by Rick Carlisle last night. In fact, I give him a lot of credit for what happened. Let's see. Smooth saying, I never really entertained the thought of the Raptors low-key trying to tank. The makeup of this team lends itself to having a teacher coach like Dwayne Casey. You know, that's a weird thing to actually bring up, and it makes total sense, Smooth. In some ways, Casey's a really good pre-playoff coach. In some ways, we're back at that. And in some ways, maybe Casey would be a better coach for the Raptors right now, where they're presently at, than Nick Nurse. It's like maybe we need to put Nick, send him away for a little bit and say rehire him in a little while, bring Casey back, let him build us back up into being a good, sound playoff team, and then boom, it's kind of like that. I can totally see this, and I think you're exactly right. In some ways, maybe Casey would have got more out of this Raptors team in the last 2 years than Nick Nurse has, just because he's a better coach at that level of that the team building. And that Nick Nurse is better once the team's already established kind of playoff team, but needs to just get over the hump with the mental chess of the end game with the really good players and that high level and going deep in the playoffs. Well, maybe he's not good with the earlier stuff, with the younger stuff, the development stuff, the stuff that Casey was so good at. That is such an astute observation and point by Smooth Brown Man. Seriously, that really makes a lot of sense to me right now. Holy crap, teacher coach. Just like Casey. I think you're right. Fiercely saying at Logical, can anybody access footage from previous games? I'd like to have the one in which I attended with my daughter on December 29th against Memphis. My friend said she saw us on TV. Mike he can tell you. Not going to lie, I use the NBA replay site for older game clips, but I don't know if the uncut broadcast is available there. I could do a quick check, but you could maybe find it better. Lex knows the site. I can't write it. I don't know the site, but I know that Tom and Greg were talking about it last time. We brought this up actually last night, Mike, but I've never actually gone and used it. I know you've talked about it and told people about it, but I've never used it. But Greg has, because he's used it to cut up stuff on his YouTube channel. Whatever Mike can do to get that message across to you, Fiercey. Let me see. You know what I'm going to do, Mike? You're going to get that wrench. But don't I might just give you the wrench for right now so that you can go ahead and just post it. But I'm going to take it back because I do want you on that timer because you write a lot. I do want you on that timer. But I'm going to give you the wrench for a second. And it'll allow you, I think, to put that that web address in the bottom. So Fiercey Solsera, check at the bottom. He's going to put that web address for the site. Wayne is saying... try not to get too critical on Nurse, but you're 100% correct on Nurse. Start Chris or Flynn. Nurse sometimes doesn't set up his players for success. He expects them to know because they're professional. Yeah, he probably puts them out there sink or swim. And too often guys are sinking instead of swimming in these situations he puts them in. In some ways, it's not fair. He's not giving them a life preserver in some ways. Yeah, I don't like it. Mike's saying, I thought about it. I don't have a clue what most people look like here. So, yeah, maybe too tough for me. But Fiercey, you could check it better and be safer all around without needing to post images. Yeah. Mike says he's what would help you if you knew what you look like. But, you know what? Whatever you guys can figure it out. Mike, if you want to put your email address or something so that you can stay in contact with Fiercey to try and help her with this project, definitely do it. I did give you the wrench just now, so you should be able to put websites in there, or even like if you want to give her your email address, and then you guys can contact that way. This is not in my wheelhouse. Mike really does know that website, that NBA replay website, better than me, and it sounds like he wouldn't mind helping you. Monique is saying, "Hey Lex, Sunday is my last game, the 26th, because I'm trying to save up for the playoffs. If it lasts longer, enjoy the Raptors versus Miami. W Stream Lex, always, regardless of the outcome, always supports you. We love and support you also, Monique. And yes, that's smart. I understand. You're going to go to one more game, and then you're going to save up and hopefully be able to go to some postseason games with the Raptors. Hopefully, yeah, I totally understand. And yeah, I'll be at Miami next week. Wayne saying interesting comments today after a loss. No unsupportive comments, just positive negativity. Sounds oxymoronic. Well, this is the thing. Like, why would we kick them while they're down? Why do we like? It's immature to just make fun of them. And but we do really want them to be better, and we're unhappy. This is not a happy outcome. So it is a kind of a really weird place where we have to land the dart on the dartboard. It cannot be so like negative that it's like a turnoff, or we can't be so positive that it's also like, you're unrealistic and you're crazy what you're saying. Why can't you say what exactly happened and talk about it in a way that's respectful of the players and the coach still? You just got to be constructively criticism. But it's like this is part of the charm of this channel, is that like we're getting real and we understand this really sucks from last night, but there's no reason to put punches on these guys in certain ways. And that is the balance. And I think, and that part of it is, I don't take that crap. Somebody comes in here and they really start just dumping on guys heavy. Yeah, we ain't having that. And that's why we can have a mature discussion that's productive and constructive, instead of just like bullshit and like, let's just like be toxic and just really, really dump on our team. There's no point in doing that. I appreciate you, Wayne. You've been one of the latest new people that I really enjoyed, the new blood of new names that are coming in here and regularly. You guys have been so good. You're very strong, good new Raptor freaks. Trust me. Mike's saying facts, Wayne. Great balance of vibes, positive but critical at times. We just have to be real about this. I love Nick Nurse. I don't want him to get fired, but sometimes I really question what he's doing. Let's see. Fiercely saying thanks, that logical Raptors fanatic. All right, hopefully you guys get connected up and can make that all work. Evelyn loves the word oxymoronic. Evelyn, the drip master. I'm gonna call Evelyn the drip master now. She has got the drip of the drip. It is the drip of the Toronto Raptors gear. I knew the day she showed up last year in August. She showed up in this crisp, clean, white, old school pinstripe Raptors jersey from the beginning, the dinosaur right here, Tracy McGrady #1. I was like, this is a real one. And when I saw that jersey on Evelyn, I was like, she is a real Raptor freak. She's a diehard, and she's from the very beginning. I can tell if she's got that very nice original Tracy McGrady dinosaur pinstripe Raptor jersey. Oh my, talking about jerseys, Mike. Oh my gosh, Evelyn's got a collection. Trust me. She's not even telling us. She's got some jerseys. Trust me, Mike. Yeah, she does. Nameless saying, just join in the chat now. I'll have to recap later. No problem. Buongiorno, Nameless. My paisan. I know you'll catch up and you'll see what's going on. All kinds of good stuff happening. Fiercely saying, just in, Scotty, Gary, and Precious all missed practice today and remain questionable for Friday. I hate hearing this. I hate hearing this. This sounds like Kyle Lowry stuff at the end of Tampa. This sounds so much like that. There you go. Mike has put the address up. Fiercey is right there, so you guys can see it. And I'll leave it for right now. I don't care. You can take it away. You want me to take it away? Okay, I'll take it away. And Criscom's here. Good to see Criscom. All right. Good stuff, Mike. Thank you, Mike, for being helpful in that way. Criscom saying, what a crappy loss. They really need to get the next 3. You're damn right, Criscom. They very much need to get them, and they should have gotten this one, honestly. Holy crap. They should. All right, Criscom, thanks for being the last comment today. Let me wrap things up real quick. Thanks for watching me today. Very disappointing game because of the Raptors losing, but very exciting and fun and enjoyable game in a lot of ways because of Tom Duke's presence here, visiting us here in Toronto from Victoria, British Columbia. It was fantastic, and I am so grateful and thankful for the people that came out yesterday and hung out with us. You guys are awesome. Evelyn, you're amazing. Peter and David, so happy to see you guys once again. You guys really are like brothers to me. Greg, fantastic hanging out with you all day yesterday. Honestly, riding around with you and Tom in the van around Toronto and just having our little conversations and hanging out with Tom and getting to know each other better in person was really, really fun. And I really do hope that we all can bridge the gaps in real life and see each other in person more often in different ways. I feel like there's a really good friendship that I'm building with Greg and David and Evelyn and Peter, and of course Tom, who just came into town. And really, really good to see you guys. And then Monique, obviously, oh my gosh. Tom was really, really happy that he got to hang out and see you, Monique, and meet you yesterday, last night. Just fantastic for that aspect. And then, of course, the Canadian aspect. It was good for Canada, but it may not have been good for the Raptors. What a night last night. Yeah, 3 stars of the game, Pascal, Jakob, and Fred. Just a really tough game in general. Let me make sure I didn't forget anything else here. You like slow mode? You proofread more? Okay, that's good, Mike. You're the best, Mike. Honestly, I really do like you, man, a lot, bro. You're one of my dudes, man, Mike. You are definitely in our collective, and we are a creative collective that does material on the Raptors. You are definitely one of my dudes, bro, and I will always support and promote you forever, bro. Trust me. As long as you got a channel, you got me, bro. All right, let's see. I read Jakob's backup. I've told you about that. Yeah, Tom Duke is really battling at the top of the fantasy basketball. I was going to give him the jersey, but it's like it's too close. Duke Rocks is right there with him. And I can't just say Tom's going to win because it could very well be that Duke Rocks wins the fantasy basketball in that jersey. The Vince Carter signed UNC jersey that is the prize for our Raptor Freak Yahoo Fantasy League this year. So we'll have to see what happens. Once again, if you guys want to see us on Raptors Tonight from last night, if you look really in the background, in the middle, behind Randy Urban and the people at the bar, you will see a red Raptors jersey and me standing in the background. You may even see Greg back there and stuff like that. But we were in the house for Raptors Tonight, and it was very fun. All right, guys. Thanks again for watching me. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. Put me on blast in different places. And I hope you enjoyed everything today. Hopefully, we helped work a little therapy today through a very confusing, disappointing loss that we really honestly shouldn't have had last night in a lot of ways. I have so many confusing questions about what is going on with this Raptors team right now that I'm really upset in some ways because we shouldn't be at this point late in the season. We should have had more of our shit figured out. And I don't like it in some ways. In fact, in some ways, I just want to throw up my hands on the season and walk away from it and start all over again next year. In some ways, that's how I feel at this point. Evelyn saying West Strainer. Yeah, that's the right word. Sorry, I got mixed up. West Strainer. W Strainer. Yeah, you guys have a great day. I appreciate y'all. And I'll be back tomorrow with a preview for the game against the Pistons Friday night. Let's go Canada. Okay, today we'll say that. Let's go Canada.